you believe that having guns is like a fundamental right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any reason you think that that right is important enough to like justify the consequences that can be caused?
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Do you think that you should be allowed to own a car?
I think like based on what guns can do, I would
That's not what I asked.
I would be okay with the general public losing the right to own a gun.
No, that's not what I asked you. Do you think that the general public should have the right to own a car?
Yes.
Okay. Cars kill more people than guns. Way more people than guns. They kill more children than guns.
But cars are also like a vital form of transport.
And I would say that guns are a vital form of defense for the people against perpetrators and the government. And by the way, you're more likely to be killed in this country by a knife than you are to be killed by a rifle. 4 times more likely to be killed by a knife. You're more likely to be kicked to death than you are to be killed with a rifle. You're more likely to be killed with a blunt object than you are to be killed with a rifle. You're more likely in this country to be struck by lightning than you are to be shot and killed by a rifle.
Really?
Yes, there are more people struck by lightning every year than there are people killed by guns.
Look at the interesting statistics.
Compare the weather.gov. So you go to weather.gov and you look at the number of people struck by lightning every year. I think it's 270, and compare that with the FBI's Universal Crime Reporting database and their data on rifles. And by the way, that's all rifles, not just assault rifles or AR-15s. It's all rifles. AR-15s would account for a much smaller share of that total number.
All right, good morning, guys. I gotta say, it feels very much like Charlie Kirk is alive in this kid. There's a lot of other videos that he did. There's a couple that didn't turn out too well at the University of Tennessee. Oh, there we go. Something felt wrong. Something felt wrong. But yeah, I think Charlie's legacy lives on. I'm very excited about it. Is that better? Is that better? Can you guys hear me now? Better. Okay, good. I wanted to show something else real quick too, and then we'll move on. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of U.S. economic stuff. I think we're going to be hearing a lot of the sky's falling today from what happened yesterday because of Papa Powell's comments. Papa Powell is sidelined. He doesn't matter anymore, and I'm going to tell you why things aren't bad at all and why we're still in melt-up phase. I don't think a lot of people are looking at it this way. I saw Chicken Genius just posted something a little bit earlier saying he doesn't have an edge anymore and he's just going by gut instinct now and that he's sidelined and he thinks the S&P is going to drop hard. I don't actually think – I think the S&P might grind for a bit while crypto goes higher in October. Historically, that's what's happened. Bitcoin and crypto go up in October and November, and as that happens, we start to see underperformance in the stock market. I think that's what's happening. I'm going to justify why. But before we get to that, I want to go over one thing again real quick. Just a little more Charlie Kirk. It's going to be hard to get Charlie Kirk out of me, guys. Everybody says that Charlie Kirk is a racist. We got Jimmy Kimmel, who literally said that the shooter was MAGA. We've got all this just deception and lies that go out day after day after day, trying to convince people that things that are lies are true and things that are truth are lies. And so in Charlie's own words, I want you to see what a racist looks like, and I want you to see how he addresses a racist person in his audience. Here we go.
Man, if he's a racist, he's a really bad one. This is how Charlie responded to an actual racist.
I want to ask a question of you. What does it mean to be an American? Is it an idea or a history, a shared history, or is it a skin color?
Well, I mean, you could go back to the original founding fathers, the Immigration Act of, I believe it was...
What does it mean to be an American? Is it a skin color or something else?
So there's the current idea of what it means according to...
Now, watch what this dude says here in a second, and you're going to see why Charlie does this.
But if you go back to the original founding fathers, they intended this to be a European nation for white men of good stock and character.
So that, but let me say, that's an actual racist.
Yeah,
he that's an actual racist. Now, watch how Charlie responds.
So, can you show me? Let me answer the question. Can you show me where in the United States Constitution it says that?
It wasn't in the Constitution.
It wasn't in the Constitution because they didn't believe it.
The founding explicitly clear.
What does the phrase "e pluribus unum" mean? What does the phrase "e pluribus unum" mean?
Why is that relevant?
Because it was on every founding document and presidential seal from our founding, which means out of many, one.
Come on.
You, sir, and your ideology is not conservative. It is right-wing, identitarian, and has no place in the conservative movement, my friend. Get out of line. Get out of line.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it doesn't actually fit the narrative, does it? Where he gets angry at the racist person who believes in white power and that only whites deserve to live in America. And he literally yells at him to get after line after he schools him. Doesn't meet the narrative, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that'll show you how disgusting the left is and what they've been breeding that we're going to be going over today. But we're not going to focus on that right now. We're going to focus on the economy. We're going to focus on investing because that is the priority. It's called the pre-market open for a reason. But we do have to touch on these other subjects because if we don't understand reality, especially geopolitically and macroeconomically, we're screwed. So we're going to start with that. So this Cheddar Flow put the U.S. dollar is having its worst year in decades. So that's true. If you consider worse being it depreciating in value versus other currencies in the world. Now, I would argue that that's the best thing that can happen for America, and there's a reason why. And again, this is exactly what Trump wanted, right? He wants the dollar to weaken against other currencies around the world so that we have a stronger manufacturing base and more money is staying in our country. And so I just briefly say up here, the dollar is the weakest it's been in decades, ? That's good. You know why? Because it helps our manufacturing base become more competitive with the rest of the world, helps international companies like Tesla see larger profits. We're going to talk about that in a second, and keeps more money flowing throughout our economy. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Tesla heading into Q3, getting with Q3 results and Q4 coming up here, is because of some of the impacts of what we're talking about with the dollar. I did want to tell you guys, we got Scott Bessant coming out at 7 o'clock here in about 10 minutes. We're probably going to segue over to him. This morning could be a little bit of a longer one because we have a lot to catch up on, but we're going to listen to him. He might be talking on Bloomberg. So I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to try and hop over to YouTube TV and get Bloomberg up so that we can listen to him. All right, real quickly though, we got Tom Lee also today. It says, he's going to be in Seoul, September 2024, 4:40 to 5 p.m. So he's going to be doing a keynote speech. I'm assuming that he's giving Eastern time because that's normally, I think, where he is. So that's probably like 3:40 our time. So just keep an eye out for that. I'll try and repost it when it comes up. Real quickly, though, a lot of economic data to go over. So we've got the Russell is hanging around all-time highs while short interest in components is at record levels. This is kind of the truth and kind of not. So one thing that you have to realize is people can always portray different messages and narratives depending upon the data that they're looking at and the charts that they're giving you. So yes, short interest is super high on small caps while they're at record highs. Call volume is at record highs too. So both things are true, but I will say this. The Russell's going higher. We've got a lowering interest rate environment. It's going higher. It's the opposite of what happened to it. When we raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history. This is just how math works, guys. Unless there's another core reason why something is different, this is how math works. And so if you look over here, we can see what happened when the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history. We went from the Russell incredibly breaking out, having just a horrific time after the pandemic, right? Horrific. Down to the 960s. And then it just went up and up and up, consolidated, got ready, broke out, started to go higher. Then the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history. And what happened to it? It literally consolidated for years. So the opposite of that is happening right now, where we're going to be releasing the pressure valve for the lower end of the economy, and we're going to be giving them better interest rates. And yeah, we'll talk about that. Bond rates initially, when we lowered the Fed rate, they went up a little bit, but they're lower now than they were the last time I reported on it, that they were rolling over and going lower. So there's good stuff coming. Just remember, you got to dig deeper. You can't just look at narratives. Good morning, everyone. Love that, said Mimi. I'm assuming you're talking about Charlie Kirk. Scott, don't know what that is. Charlie Kirk. And again, I just try and portray the truth. The man was not a racist. He was a good person. Jimmy Kimmel is a disgusting person. Jimmy Kimmel last night talked about how my show doesn't matter, guys, but it's the fact that we have freedom to say the things that we say and lie about what we lie that really matters. I find all of that very disingenuous when all these same people were cheering on Trump losing access to Twitter back in the day, now known as X. and being deplatformed from YouTube, and them getting excited about censoring all of the people they censored on YouTube and other platforms that we openly know about, but that got overlooked by everybody in the mainstream media yesterday. Anyway, Seth Golden says, one heck of a September. Who could have said that September was going to be good? Me. Only 3 down days, and some of the stuff that I own still has not done that well, and that's okay. It's coming. Not everything floats at once. I didn't think miners would be going first, but they are. We want to talk about that. Clean Spark looking very attractive right now. But he said only 3 days down and quite the opposite of historical trend. So again, why did I tell you that September was going to be up? Because I told you that August was down, and historically August was always up. Okay? And so we had front ran the pain, and it was literally just moving the cycle over a little bit. So it's not over here anymore. It's over here now. And we're going from there. And so that front running could cause maybe a temporary drop in some of these markets. I think that's possible. But maybe at the beginning of September, it's down just a hair. Wouldn't that be a great way to shake people out? So we got JDEX saying September into Downtober. Yeah, exactly, right? I think that could happen. I think we could actually still close September really well, and then maybe start off the first week or so in October down, or see the S&P and some of these other indices start to cool off because they've done really well. See gold cool off. Again, record levels, parabolic breakouts. It's time for them to cool off, and it's time for crypto to have its opportunity. This is a pretty clear distinction and difference between the months of September for what we've seen and then what is actually the norm. It's funny how all that stuff works out. Again, spend a little time diving deeper. It helps a lot. Seth Golden, again, guys, this is my Jewish brother from another mother. I think he lives in Jersey. He's a good dude. He's liberal. At least that's the perception I get. I do not think he likes Donald Trump, but he also looks at data, and I love that. I love these kind of people who I have a political bias. Do I hide it? Do you guys think that I'm not politically biased? I'm super politically biased, but I try and justify that around a wrapper of common sense and truth and dignity, one where I don't deliberately give you a false narrative so that you can believe my side. I'll never do that. I'll always try and justify why my side is right, and then if I disagree with them, I'll tell you it's wrong. I actually think that the lack of embracing solar, wind maybe not so much. Wind doesn't really, it's not scalable, but not embracing solar, I think that's not a good thing. But I also don't know if there's other reasons for that. I don't know if we're trying to put additional pressure on China's economy. But Seth is brilliant. Follow him. He said at 88.2%. Oh, and we almost have Bessant coming in 4 minutes. We'll get switched over to that in a second. He said forward positive one quarter revenue is the third highest in history. He goes, this is not over-exuberant stock market. This is it's a blisteringly strong, fundamental corporate landscape. Imagine if the market actually did have the same in the dot-com. So everybody likes to say, oh, the dot-com bubble's coming, guys. Oh, the Great Depression's coming. None of that shit fucking happened. We don't have runaway inflation. It's not the fucking 70s where we have stagflation. None of these narratives are going to hold true or have held true, and it certainly isn't the great financial crisis, because if we look over here, when we look at percent of S&P companies with positive month percent changes in forward revenues, forward guidance, and why is the forward guidance getting better? I don't know. Maybe it's because of 50% of the fucking revenues from the S&P come from international sales, and our dollar's getting weaker, and that's actually helping revenue for half of the fucking S&P. I don't know why people can't do math, but it's a good thing, and it's definitely not what happened in the great financial crisis when these forward guidance was going down and eventually rolled over as the housing market collapsed. Also, didn't look really strong over here in 2020 before we had our big rout either, did it? No, but now we're headed up. And so this is good. Eventually this will turn. This will probably turn around the end of the year, right? You can see where peaks were established too in 2018, even though I would argue that in 2018, Papa Powell, for the fuck of it, decided to raise interest rates and totally screwed the market and then immediately backtracked from it. And then in 2021, when we peaked over here too, he decided to raise rates at the fastest rate in history thus crushing the stock market. So I would actually argue that forward revenues, were neutered in both cases by Papa Powell, the person that everybody seems to love, or did for a while. They seem to hate him now. So I think we're okay here. I do think this is something that should be monitored. I do think that we could go higher by the end of the year, and then this could cause a rollover of some kind as the narrative starts to change and shift in different directions. So again, keep an eye on all this stuff. If I'm providing value, guys, please say something in chat. Please hit the like. Please share. It helps this channel, and it helps me continue to do my work. Also, my buddy Seth Golden, again, he's got a lot of goodies lately. I'm probably going to make it to where my X Pro has some feeds that follow just some of my absolute favorite people that I always want to get their opinion on. Seth will be on the top of that. I don't even know. Maybe I'll make that a separate channel where it just auto post news events from these people because I love their work so much, or does it on mine. Felipe, thank you for joining. You can talk in chat now. But he said, this is wrong, absolutely wrong. So here's a narrative from Barchart. I don't want to shit on Barchart. I love these guys, but I do think that they have a certain slant that isn't one that I would agree with a lot of the times. They were bearish with the tariffs during that whole time frame. I was not, right? We know how that turned out. It turned out pretty good. Ryan Detrick wasn't bearish around that time. I will say this, I think Seth started off bearish, but then he started looking at data and started to realize that it wasn't bearish. And there's just other people, Tom Lee, Dan Ives, other people that were bullish around that time too. And I don't think Amit was, but Amit eventually got there because he hangs out with a lot of smart people and he listens to them. But good morning from Cincinnati, says Lowe's. What's up, brother? Art Knight, good morning from Atlanta. How you doing, sir? We got Sea Island. I don't even know where that is, Beatty, but that's awesome. But so what they're saying here is sales of heavy trucks are collapsing, which is usually foreshadowed by an upcoming recession. Bullshit. Bullshit. So let's look at what Seth has to say here. Michael, thank you for becoming a member. You can talk in chat now. So he said, this is absolutely wrong. Heavy truck sales account for 0.005% of GDP. So A, they don't fucking matter. He said, 2, heavy truck sales have been as much as negative 21% year over year without a recession. So they've been at really, really low levels, and we haven't gotten one. So saying usually precedes a recession is not really a good statement. Heavy truck sales have been plus 5%, negative down 10%, 15, 20, and 30. In other words, it doesn't indicate anything. There's so many chart crimes out there, so little time, so many students. I agree. He's 100% right. Do they count semis as heavy truck? I think so. I don't remember off the top of my head. You can look it up, grok it real quick and tell me. All right, a couple more from Seth, and then we're going to move on to other things. Oh, wait a second. I actually need to... Give me a sec, guys. I got to pull up on my screen here. You guys maybe look up the other point. I'm going to pull up YouTube Live. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know if YouTube Live will do anything where, like, it kills the feed and I can't show this. It's possible. But Bloomberg has... Or I'm sorry, not Bloomberg. Fox Business... right now is getting ready to have Scott Bessant on, and we love Scott Bessant. He is worth his weight in gold and provides so much valuable insight. So we want to hear everything that he has to say. So let me see real quickly, guys.
Well, Maria, it's all the president.
U.S. Treasury.
All right, so here we go. I'm going to see if this will play. I don't know if they'll end up killing it. Will I even see it? We'll see. Let's see. You might not be able to see it.
Secretary of this great nation, Scott Bessant. Mr. Secretary, it's great to see you.
Maria, always good to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. You have so much on your plate, and first I want to thank you for all the...
Let me see. I'm going to see if I can find this on their site, because I really want to see this. I don't want to just hear it. If we have to, maybe we just hear it, but I feel like there's so much nuance missed. And I might have to wait a second. Let me just see here. Video, Trump's Kirk's eulogy. Video. I don't know if I have to. Do I have to sign up for this shit? Do I have to sign up for Fox Business? If I have to, dude, I'll fucking do it. I don't care. Give me a second. We're going to add to our arsenal for the team, guys. Can you guys at least give me a like when I'm signing up for Fox Business TV, just so I can get it to where you guys are able to see this feed? Can somebody hit the like, say something in chat? All right, 1 second. I gotta hear this. I just gotta hear it. And then we'll have this all the time from here on out, so that'll be good. If I can find the email, let me see. Just a second here. Sorry, I really want to hear Bessant. He's such a stud. Here we go. Fox Business. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you, Danny, for the 10 gifted memberships. Anybody who just got one of those, you can talk and chat. So if you become a member down the road, you'll be able to do that. I really appreciate you, sir. Or sign in using this link. All right, I'm going to click this. Continue to sign in. I don't know if I have to. I'm assuming I have to do a membership. I'm not there yet. Let me see. Why does it say continue? There. Okay, I'm in. Watch TV. Oh, can you just sign in? No. Sign up for a subscription.
Bad, and why he would wait until...
Oh, maybe this will work, though. Maybe this will work. All right. I'm going to bring this over, guys. Isn't that cool? I love... Technology is so cool, man. Oh, my God. I think he's going to give it to us. They might give a better feed with a membership. If that's true, I will go ahead... I will sign up for it. I don't see any kind of quality, so let me just... Your preview pass expires in 59 minutes. Okay,
but
that's why we're getting in.
What is your thought about the macro story right now? I want to get your take on where we are with regard to economic growth and what's ahead.
Let me see if I can...
Clearly, the Federal Reserve has been too high for too long, and we're going into an easing cycle here. And I'm not sure why Chair Powell has backed up a bit here, because, you know, as we can see, we inherited a mess.
Because he doesn't like taking it from Daddy Bessant, but he's got to.
And it's unclear now. We've had almost 2 million downward revisions in the jobs numbers. There was almost no private job creation in the Biden administration. And
it's all government
revisions. We know that something was wrong beneath the hood, and now we could see. In terms of the housing market that affects consumers, working Americans, rates are too restrictive. They need to come down. And I think we will go into a cycle. And I'm a bit surprised that the chair hasn't signaled that we have a destination before the end of the year of at least 100 to 150.
Yeah, instead, Jerome Powell has decided that the market seems overvalued. Normally, he's like, I don't like to comment about the stock market valuations. But now he's got an opinion. Isn't that funny? But he's non-biased, guys. Only 90% of the contributions coming from the Fed and people that work there go towards Democrats, which is actually straight down the middle. That's like 50-50. If 90-10 isn't 50-50, then I don't know what is, right?
Basis points. And I will add, President Trump's pick for the Federal Reserve Board, Stephen Myron.
Tesla isn't breaking out. It's up 0.5%. It's literally breaking out of a 4.5-year trend or channel. We'll look at that in a bit here, okay?
Stephen has said more in a week than the Biden administration appointees have said during their entire tenure.
Yeah.
And
he wanted a 50 basis point cut. Jay Powell cut 25 basis points. Stephen Myron wanted 50.
Well, these meetings are supposed to be a discussion. You're supposed to go into them with an open mind. And, I think not unlike the UN, we've seen a lot of mistakes, a lot of rigidities.
Totally. We'll look at all of it.
And, it's good to get some new blood in there.
Who would be your best pick for chairman of the Fed at this point?
Not going to comment.
Maria, I'm interviewing 11 candidates. We've got a couple who have surprised me in the strength of their candidacy during the interviews.
Okay.
And
who surprised you?
I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk specifics.
Why would you do that?
So you don't want to break that news right now?
No. Maria, if I could, I would, because you're my favorite. But
I love Maria.
I'm going to be
She's
interviewing
awesome.
more candidates this week. We respected the Fed's quiet period, and we didn't interview any sitting Federal Reserve board members or presidents. So there's going to be a lot of interviews next week. I think the first round will be done for first week of October. Then we'll start another round, and I look forward to being
first week of
able
October,
to
guys.
discuss it with President Trump. Present him with 3 or 4 very strong candidates.
Do you think, given what we've seen in the labor market for the last 3 months, we've seen this weakening in the last 3 months. I don't know if you believe the numbers or not at this point, but do you think that tiptoes into recession at some point?
I am less concerned about a recession. I'm concerned about the distributional aspects that we've got going here. You know, I'm concerned that working Americans are getting hit harder just because of the high rates. I'm concerned that a lot of the housing affordability crisis is on the mortgage side. So, you know, I am very concerned, and I believe that we do need rate relief. We need to get at least.
Well, and the government needs lower rates too. They need it too. So they need a Fed that's actually clearly guiding. I want to talk about Stephen Moran. I love him. I actually think he would be a great Fed chairman.
Back to neutral.
Isn't it odd that when you talk about lower rates and
I mean, Stephen Moran has literally created the policy. It's so funny because they asked him to, like, hey, Stephen, would you let the president influence your decisions as a Fed chairman? And you know what he said? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't let them influence. You know how you know what? He's honest. He was saying that with like genuine response. You know why he won't let the president influence his decisions? Because the president is running on his fucking roadmap. And so they're really Stephen's decisions, and the president is just executing on it and filling out some nuance. So it very much would be independent.
Fed,
just not the way they want.
Expected to cut another time, at least once more, that rates go up. I mean, do you think it's a certainty that as the Fed lowers rates that you're actually going to see a real impact on, for example, Kirby. Mortgage rates?
Yeah.
I do believe that we are seeing.
Real quickly, I'm going to let him answer his question, but Kirby Tax said, it's shocking to me how many people don't participate in the markets. That's going to get worse, in my opinion. I hope it doesn't. I think a lot of Republicans and capitalists are going to get rich. So people that are liberal but can overlook political bias and TDS and EDS, they're going to be fine. They'll make a lot of money. But these guys are preaching socialism, and socialism is not investing in the stock market. I have friends that were like, well, they're like, how did you make so much money? And I was like, well, Bitcoin and Tesla. And I was like, I can show you how to do all of it. And they're like, oh, that's great. But, you know, we have to think about like, you know, moral considerations and all these things too. Moral considerations about Bitcoin is like one of the most moral things on earth. Tesla, I mean, literally changing the planet and everything about it in a good way. But it's the investing in these companies and all this stuff that are like morally concerning. So you have to realize, I think a lot of people are not going to do well, and they're going to stay at that. I think liberals are getting ready to lose a lot of money. Lowe's 94, Jesse James had an interview or an interesting video breaking down BTC and Tesla in terms of TAM, total addressable market. Super interesting conclusion is AI TAM, Tesla growth outpaces money TAM, BTC 29%. I do not disagree with that in any way. Manny, thank you so much, dude, for the 50. I appreciate you, sir. I actually don't disagree with James. I have not seen the video. I only recently found that what's his name, Stephen Mark Ryan, Into the Money Problem or whatever, that he had me in a video. I was very excited about that. And James has had me in the past. I don't know why I thought about that, but he just did. But James is a brilliant guy, and I would agree with him. I think people are, after this cycle, I think people, they think Bitcoin can't go down. They think crypto can't go down. I disagree with that. I think they very much can, because again, if we hit the heights of like 150, 180, 200s on Bitcoin and everything's kind of melting up into October and November, then I think that we could actually still have a retrace because we've got margin debt. We're going to look at some of that in a little bit, and then we'll get back to Bessant. Sorry. Solve the money problem. Thank you, Matthew. So I actually think we've got issues with like margin debt and again, valuations. There's going to be a lot of things that I think if we look out into the future, they're not that way now, in my opinion, at all. And I think we've got months of good times, but I do think that they're going to be concerning and we need to look at them, and we need to look at like bearish bullish sentiment. We need to look at things like fear and greed. We need to look at RSIs. We need to look at all of the things that are going to tell us where the different markets are. Right now, I'm excited to say that the CNN Fear and Greed Index is almost towards neutral. I'm excited to say that the Coin Market Cap Fear and Greed Index for crypto is actually just barely in fear. And let's look over here. I haven't looked at the alternative one. I actually don't like this one as much anymore, but it's in fear too. That's great. So, and at a time where Trueflation has a set 2% interest rate, And we're looking at, if we just look over here, and we got some economic data, we'll pull that up too. And then I'll get back to Bessant. Sorry, Bessant. I got a limited time for that for my trial, so I better do that. But if we just refresh over here, guys, and again, this doesn't make it into all the base stuff, and you're not going to see prices usually go negative. That just doesn't happen. It's not realistic. Inflation is always up, right? The government ensures that. It's always up. But if we look at energy, look at this. This is the UK and Europe and Germany and natural gas in the United States, and methanol's down and coal's down. These are all year to date. Uranium futures numbers. We should look at those in a bit. Crude oil's down, Urals, propane, Brent. Like even gasoline is up 0.04% since Trump since the beginning of the year. And actually, it's down still from when Trump actually started and got into power, right? And we're seeing this across other things too. Metals are up because people are speculating, right? Platinum, silver, gold, they're all up. This is everybody's position for extreme fear. But if we look at other stuff over here, look at this. Potatoes down year to date, 71%, 50% for orange juice, 38% for cocoa, 23% for butter, sugar's down, rice, rubber, rapeseed, corn, oats, cotton, milk, wheat, cheese, barley, palm oil are literally all down. These are the only things that are up. So, and I would actually argue, well, I won't make all those arguments. I don't want to get too sidetracked here. But I would argue that these things aren't that bad and that we're sitting in a really good position. Jay Duff, thank you for becoming a member. You guys are really generous today. People are in good spirits. Again, I've got more U.S. economic data I want to talk about, including stuff from Seth, where he posts something that's bearish and it gets more than 10x the views of something that he posts that's bullish. These are very important things to pay attention to. AI sentiment surveys. We'll get back to Bessant here and let him answer his question. I might have to go back 10 seconds just to make up. But let me see here. There's things like, what is it? AAII. Let's look up at their sentiment surveys real quick. I do think this is an important thing to look at. So we'll just do the AI investor sentiment survey. And what you can see here is neutral players. This just for people that are neutral in the market is down to nothing. People are bearish or they're bullish. They're starting to become more bullish. This is this blue number over here, but really they're still more bearish. And if you look over here historically, like you can see that we reached the bottom of the 2022 bear market. Let's see over here. Right about over here where nobody was bullish. Nobody had been bullish for a very long time. And then we went up, right? But at that same time, everybody was maximum bearish. If you look over here, people are still really bearish. They're very positioned for it. There's a lot of people sidelined. Again, Chicken Genius is one of them, right? There's a lot of people that are just like, fuck, I'm getting scared. I might need to hedge. I need to short some stuff. I need to pull out of the market and keep my cash on the side. I think this is a really positive thing, guys. I think it's a really positive thing. Ben Guy said he's getting his new Model Y today. Jay Duff said, damn, I'm late. You're not too late. Just watch me on 2X, even though it's probably hard to listen because I already talk fast. Useful facts, like. I agree. Tyler says, Jesse, I know you have the Robinhood credit card. Will you get a BTC credit card? Yeah, I probably will. I just don't want to. I'm trying not to issue up a bunch of lines of credit. I have no credit card debt right now. Everything is paid off. I might fuck around and play with some credit cards and maybe pull in like $200,000 in balance transfers between now and the end of the year so that I cover my tax bill, or at least a huge portion of it for next year. Again, I like to use debt to be able to push out obligations as far as I can. And I do that probably a little more adventurous and crazier than a lot of people. But in the 2019 collapse, after I got into markets really in 2017, I was heavily invested in Bitcoin. I wasn't invested as much in Tesla, and they did the opposite, right? Bitcoin went down because I didn't even know what the halving was. I got fucked. And we will get back to Bessant, I promise. And then Tesla started going up around that time. I finally got into it, but then I exited too quickly because Tesla was just a rocket ship to the moon and incredibly overvalued by the time it peaked. But those were tough times in the market, and I don't know what my point was. I did really well. Maybe I had something better than that, but we'll skip it. And we need to get back to it anyway. So let me just read your comments real quick, and then we'll get back over to Bessant before we get kicked for some reason. It says you can get a ton of rewards opening new credit cards. Yeah. So anyway, I probably will. I probably will get something like that, but I'll do these other balance transfers first, and that way it doesn't affect my credit or it doesn't matter for the balance transfers. Because again, I like to float debt. Oh yeah, that was my point. I did that in 2019. At one point, I was negative. I was negative money. I was in the red with the bank, and I've turned that around from 2019 to me retiring in 2020 at the start of a pandemic, and then getting to $6.9 million. I'm currently sitting around 4, and I think I'm going to be at 10 or 12 at the end of the year. So I play things a little hot and loose. I do think hot and loose is becoming way more dangerous as the market goes up a bunch. I think we're going to have a pullback again at the end of the year, maybe beginning of next. So just be ready for it. And I'll read comments real quick, and then we're going to listen. Michael, CPI skewed buy car insurance that industry got during. Yeah, so that's coming down too. You've got shelter coming down still because rent is cheaper than owning a house. And so you got rents still coming down. You got the cyclical factors there. And then at the same time, you have car insurance still helping with that as well. And then again, we already had all the taxes go up for people's real estate. Now, theoretically, we'll start to, in the future, see taxes going down. Take that out, and would CPI be better? Math 2, with Solana getting heavily manipulated by Binance, do you think Solana can still take? Yes, I don't worry about that. I don't worry about all the manipulation. People love to complain about manipulation when things aren't going in the direction they want it to go in. I operate off the philosophy of Charlie Munger, where you show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. So if the incentive is to fuck people that are going long, then that's what you're going to do. And if the incentive changes to fuck people that are short, then that's what you're going to do. And you'll go the opposite direction. And so I'm not worried about that remotely. I know there's people like Marty Party that love to talk about shit like that. I think he protest too much. Jesse, now that all the BTC miners are switching their business models, how do we readjust our price target for CleanSpark? It's at the higher end of the spectrum of positivity, right? And then I gotta get, all right, so I'm gonna stop with questions in a second because I do want to pull this up. So CleanSpark, again, yesterday it had a nice little pump. People are going to freak out because it wicked down again. It actually had you don't want it to pump in pre-market or after hours, because when it does that, it creates a gap. The great thing is we closed that yesterday. And so now we're up 2.16%. And this is just a precursor of going higher. And I think we'll quickly jump 23% to 30%. To get to this upper bound where we're going to be testing a trend line that goes back. Wait, 2018, 2019, again in 2020, and again in 2024, and now we're going to be hitting it again. I think that's a thing of beauty. So I become more optimistic. The technicals for the Fibonacci extension don't really change, right? We're operating off a previous low, high, and then so this is the low of the last cycle. This is the high of the current cycle, and then this is the great retrace where we went down a lot, and that's how we get our Fibonacci extension, right? And this is math that lets us know what the most likely oscillations are going to be, and we know that this thing went down 74%. You can see why people became disillusioned with it, right? And now people are still disillusioned with it. I had somebody on my feed just yesterday go, CleanSpark hasn't even fucking done anything. CleanSpark is up 121% since April. And that's not doing anything, which I think, again, it's underperformed some of these others like the HPC plays. But if we look over here, 61% almost is what it's up. Since when? The beginning of the month. 2 weeks ago. Almost 3 weeks ago. So if 61% isn't enough over the course of 3 weeks, I don't know what to tell people. Let's get back over here to Bessant and let him answer his question here.
We'll see a substantial drop in inflation. I think that the housing numbers are done through imputed rent, that we're going to see ownership is good. So therefore, the government wants to be involved. And I can tell you, like having come into government for the private sector, that what we have seen here is that there was a breakdown in our supply chains, and whether during COVID, whether it was semiconductors, whether we're seeing it with the Chinese putting export controls on rare earths.
Yeah,
so there
right.
are some things for national security or that we have made the decision as a society we want to do. But I can tell you, like the Intel stake, it's now been validated that NVIDIA's come in and taken a stake.
So I'm actually, I agree with him, actually. I agree with him. NVIDIA is taking a huge stake in Intel. This is wonderful because they have a vested financial interest for Intel to outperform and provide foundry services that are cutting edge. And NVIDIA is cutting edge for graphic cards and AI chips, right? Like they're the best. They're leading everything. So we would want our best of breed, best engineers out there working and affiliated with Intel and helping kind of cross-pollinate to get it to where we have a homegrown U.S. foundry that can build their own fucking chips, right? Instead of just being dependent upon TSMC. So I think this is all really, really great. I agree with him. So much good AI talk today too, guys. We got a lot of different subjects to cover.
The biggest company in the world. President Trump, again, he looks for solutions. It was like, well, why were we subsidizing Intel? Why shouldn't the American taxpayer have some of the upside?
Yeah, it's very interesting. You're monetizing the balance sheet.
But monetizing the balance sheet, because I can tell you, every day President Trump wants to be the president who creates assets for the American people, not debt. Not debt.
So you'll be.
And I've got another post about this, the gold card. I think that could be, somebody said 20 billion only. I said it could bring in 100 billion because it would take 100,000 people signing up for it that would give us that 100 billion number for revenue. But I think the gold card is amazing. And I think all these other things that we're doing along the way, where we're going to have a strategic reserve and we're going to have a sovereign wealth type fund, all of these things that we're doing, and again, the tariff revenue coming in, who would have thought that $400 billion, $500 billion in tariff revenues would be the pace that we're looking at? But we're looking at that, right? We're looking at 35 billion. I think it could approach 40 here soon or get close to it, and that's where it's probably going to peak unless tariffs really change a lot. But that's a huge amount of money. And then you could have more money coming in from this gold card. And then again, the H-1B visa change, you could have more money coming in for that. H-1B visas were a huge scam. I've got some Indian dudes talking about it in the YouTube video for about an hour about that, how that entire program was repeatedly being abused. And they don't even think we're doing enough to shut down the loopholes in it. Again, 72% of people that have H-1B visas are Indian. And don't get me wrong, I got friends that have this kind of stuff, and I want them to stay here, and I don't want them to go anywhere. But the program was very abused, and really not much has happened with it. But I think there's a lot of, but again, we're going to get more revenue. It's all about more revenue. It's all about creating more wealth. It's all about additional growth. The stuff that we're going to talk about with Sam Altman and OpenAI and how much growth they're talking about is fucking insane. And then Elon one-upped them and told them, ha, we're going to lead on every one of these deployments. You will be behind us. He said that after Sam Altman's announcement, and you best believe it's true. So there's a lot of really good things happening. He is going to make our growth bigger than our debt increase, and that is how you stay sustainable. And if that's true, then what James said about Bitcoin maybe starting to underperform companies like Tesla could be true. And I agree with him. I think he's right. At least until the cycle bottom, whenever that is, and however low we go. Maybe that is only like 70,000. That's what I think. I think the next cycle bottom will probably be 70,000. 70 to 100 will be the bottom. So why be scared here? But I love everything that Scott's talking about. He's so brilliant. His face, it looks punchable. He looks very arrogant, but he's actually just super confident. He's very clear, and he's just a brilliant man.
Investing in more companies if it meets that national security requirement.
Yeah, I saw the Lithium America.
Again,
MP Materials.
We realize that across 5, 6, 7 industries, we are so vulnerable, and we've got to do something about that. There's a group of us in the government led by President Trump who believes that when we leave in January 29, that we will have failed if we have not made resilient supply chains for these key industries, and we're not going to fail.
Is China going to go along with all of this? What can you tell us about the rare earth minerals flow from China? Is it going to flow?
It is flowing, and look, we're not without levers on our side. We have plenty of products that they depend on us for, so there is a back and forth. We do not want to decouple from China. We need to de-risk.
Yes.
And in terms of those rare earth magnets and minerals, they were pushing back. What is the leverage point? Is it airplane parts? What is the leverage point with China?
There's a big group of products, but it could be aircraft engines and aircraft parts. It could be certain chemicals that are used in production of plastics. It could be the ingredients for silicon.
Okay.
And it's a wide range.
Secretary, I want to take a short break and then come back because your portfolio also includes the sanctions, and we've got Russia on the move and China on the move. We'll take a short break and come right back.
Okay.
With Treasury Secretary Scott Bessant. Stay with us.
How do I get there quick? Is it just going to pop back? I don't see a way. I haven't signed up yet. Oh, this sucks.
Are you investing in...
I can't fast forward through this. All right, anyway, we'll just talk in the meantime. We'll come back to it. We'll look for it. Matt, if Scott was the only person who spoke on the economy on behalf of the president, I would love it. Yeah, I just saw the energy secretary talking a minute ago, and that dude is such a fucking idiot. And again, guys, yesterday at the UN Assembly, first off, they literally turned off the escalator heading into the place for Melania Trump and Trump right when they got to it. They turned off the escalator so that they had to walk up it and look foolish. And then they killed the teleprompter right at the beginning when Trump went up. It just stopped working. So they did all these things to throw him off, but he ended up destroying them. And we're going to look at a post that talks about that. It was amazing. How do I skip that? Skip? Okay, I'm going to try and get through this stuff. It was amazing and just really great. He crushed it, and we'll talk about all that. I'm not going to do it right now. Renewing my subscription, says Matt Nintendo. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate you, brother. I do. Thank you, Matt. Matt, if Scott, oh yeah, no, that was you. We already got that. If anybody has anything else to add, throw it out there. We'll look at stocks after this. Well, a little bit after this. We've got the U.S. economy to cover. We got AI talk. We got Tesla talk. We got Bitcoin and Ethereum talk. And we got some Trump talk that I'm going to try and roll through as quickly as possible. And then we'll look at stocks. But we'll try and get through a lot. This says 5 of 10. What the fuck? This must be better after you sign up. I will get signed up, guys, for the people that are new in here. I'm actually dual wielding. I'm watching Treasury Secretary Scott Bessant on Fox Business, but then I'm also watching CNBC. I've found lately, though, CNBC just disgusts me for the most part, and I find less value coming from it. I'm kind of watching both to figure out where I get the most data. And there's times where, again, good people go on CNBC and we'll watch that, but I'm signing up for Fox Business too, so that the channel will be able to pull up either of these whenever they have good content. And so we're looking at a number of news sources, and we will provide videos from the best as they come up. Commercials for days. We're at 6. We're almost to 7, guys. And then they give us a commercial. No. Yep, 7. Wow, exciting. It was cool listening about Reserve. Good move. Sats Unleashed agreed. Good moves. Stoney, Bloomberg keeps bashing Trump. Bloomberg is the most communist fucking site you'll ever find. Again, this guy's a Democrat who tried to run for president, and he was just such a piece of shit. Even the Democrats didn't want him. They couldn't get behind a billionaire anyway. If it was George Soros, they would. CNBC is not much better. No, I don't think so. It depends on what you're looking at. Oh, then if you're comparing it to Bloomberg, CNBC is way better. But no, I think I might have misspoke too. It's Fox Business I'm signing up for. Bloomberg sucks. I've already had that. I've had a ton of services. I get rid of the shitty ones. I keep the good ones. We do have a video from Tom Lee too, or I should say not Tom Lee, but his crypto expert. We might. That was 10 of 10. We might be back in a second. Let me look over here. Let's get past the frozen whatever. James and Marty love shitting on ETH. Yeah, they do. They just love Solana. It's always Solana all day. And I get it, man. I get it. Their bags are in Solana. Fundstrat's promoting ETH. I think they could both do well, and I've got money in both. And I don't do the tribalism stuff very well. I don't. The only time I get tribal is if somebody's like promoting XRP, knowing that these guys wanted to be the chain for the world and help censor the world, and they wanted people like Kamala Harris to win. So the censorship organization aren't the people that I want to fund for the data. The centralized chain of the future. That's for sure. I would much rather work with Ethereum and work with Solana than work with XRP, who actively funded against Bitcoin becoming a reserve asset for the United States. JDEC88, Sol wins eventually, probably, but that could be, yeah, I don't care. I don't care about the whole winner thing. Well, that'll change more over time. The Long Invest is a Kamala fan. I know. And it's so weird because he's pretty good at what he does. But at the same time, he's dumb enough to think that Kamala Harris was good for America. So you just have to listen to what he says and completely shut that part off. ZA, I don't do tribalism either, but ETH is comical in terms. None of that matters, though. That's like the VHS and beta conversation where it's like, oh my God, guys, beta is so much better. You get that you can do this. You don't have to do this. Arguably, it was the better technology of the day. But did beta win? Fuck no, it didn't. Because the money and the power went behind VHS, and that's what won. So you always have to think about that. Oh, here we go. Let me see here. Is the sound back? The fuck is going on? Oh, here.
Companies like Cattle and Hesai issuing IPOs out of Hong Kong involving U.S. firms, Wall Street loving to do those deals, making all this money. And then they're actually military companies. Who knows if they'll eventually turn their guns on America? I mean, isn't that a leverage point to take those stocks off of those exchanges and stop Wall Street from assisting?
Maria, we have a lot of leverage points with China. And obviously the
great question about delisting some of these companies.
IPO market is part of them. We've had
or not allowing IPOs.
4 discussions with my Chinese counterpart, and we discussed the leverage at every one. We just recently met in Madrid. We'll be meeting again. Our trade deal, we've been doing a 90-day roll with them. That'll be coming off on November 10th. So we will be meeting again in October, in November. And look, we approach them with mutual respect. They're the second biggest economy in the world, but the United States has made it clear we have priorities, we have interest, and we are going to defend them.
Yeah, and what about Russia? How do you stop this war on Ukraine? We've talked about Russian sanctions. You also have sanctions in your portfolio. What more can you do to stop Russia in this war?
Well, Maria, it's really what more can the Europeans do?
Yeah,
this war is in their backyard. It never would have started if President Trump had been president, but here we are now. He has been very clear that the U.S. is willing to do more, but the Europeans need.
Oh, bitches! ARGT's up almost 4% in pre-market today. Again, Bessant said that we're helping Argentina. We're going to cover that too.
Need to join us. President Trump unilaterally put 25% tariffs on India for buying Russian oil, and I think we are going to see the Indians slowly wean themselves off of that. But Maria, the most perverse part of that, India is buying discounted Russian oil. Guess where the refined products are going? They're going back to Europe. So the Europeans are financing the war against them.
Isn't that hilarious? That's one of the things that Trump called out yesterday.
But President Trump yesterday has said,
I might actually, Namdatan, I might. I've got to look at one of my accounts that's a trading account and see if I can sell one thing and then buy that. So I might get sold.
That he believes.
But it's a shitty one. It's Wells Fargo, and so I don't even know what they have as far as tickers available.
That President Putin has embarrassed himself in this war. It was supposed to be over in 3 or 5 days. In 3.5 years, they've made very.
And now Trump, of all people, guys, and I don't hear Democrats praising this, he's literally saying right now that Europeans should be bombing the shit and knocking down fighter jets and drones that are coming from Russia into their territory. So he's being ballsier than they're being right now against Putin, which is the exact opposite narrative of him being a bootlicker to him. Buy SOLT or TSLL, lol, SOLT. I wouldn't buy TSLL. I don't think there's not enough of a movement to be worth the 2x portion of that. It might turn out all right, but I don't understand. That's what you should have done when Tesla was at $150. You should have done that then.
Little gains. The Ukrainian people have been very brave. The Russian army seems quite discombobulated, but now Putin has started making incursions, into the NATO borders.
Exactly.
So the one thing I can tell you is the U.S. is not going to get involved with troops or any of that. We will sell the Europeans weapons, and then the Europeans can pass them on to Ukraine. President Trump wants this war to end. He said several times yesterday he thought it would be the easiest one to end. President Putin has made it clear that he just keeps escalating, and it's a race between the Ukraine military, the Russian economy, and we want our European allies to step up and focus on the sources of the revenues for the Russian economy,
right.
And it's oil. And Maria, just to be clear, this goes back to the original sin from President Trump's first term, where he told them, do not create Nord Stream 2.
Yeah.
And it was that reliance on Russian energy.
Yeah, he did. Trump literally told them not to become dependent on Russia for their energy needs. He warned them like crazy that it was going to bite them in the fucking ass, and then that's exactly what happened.
That got us here.
Well, look, we had President Nawrocki from Poland in the studio yesterday, and he said he would like to see American troops on the ground in Poland.
Agreed,
and
Kirby.
He said, yes,
Agreed.
Russia is getting more aggressive. Does this war take a new spike upwards with drones into Poland?
It can't. So I just want to say this right now. The war between Russia and Ukraine will be over before the end of 2026. It'll be over. Russia's done. They financially can't handle this war. The pressure we're putting on Europe to start to tariff and sanction Russia more, and again, tariff India and China more, is going to be very impactful. And it's going to make a very big difference in this war. It will shut off funding overnight, and it will destroy the Russian economy. And Putin might be overthrown. It would get that bad. Russians don't want soup lines again. And so we could see a very big shift in Russia. I think, though, Putin will just try and quietly bow out and somehow figure out how he can save face, because he's very good at that. But the war will be coming to an end, so it does not matter.
Romania?
I want to talk about Solana in a second, too, guys. I want to follow up my comment about Tesla and Solana and TSLL and SOLT.
Clearly, the Russians are testing the Europeans, and the European resolve needs to stiffen. They need to put everything on the table in terms of economic sanctions. That, as I told my European counterparts about 2 weeks ago, all I hear from you is that Putin wants to march into Warsaw. But one thing I'm sure of, Putin's not marching into Boston. He's not marching into Boston. So, but having said that, Poles are great allies. Before they had to be told to, they were already spending 5% of GDP.
Right.
Polish
securing
economy
their borders. They shut down the border with Russia
since the wall came down. When the wall came down, the Polish
now about 1% of Chinese transportation is halted because it's not being allowed to go through Belarus, which goes through Russia, into Poland. And so that's the gateway for China to get into Europe, and it's closed down. The Poles are badass.
Polish economy, Ukraine economy were the same size. Polish economy is 3 times larger now. If the Ukraine economy were the size of the Polish economy, Ukraine would be financing their own war effort right now, and I doubt Putin would have come in.
Well, that is great.
And we're going to get it to where that whole area, Ukraine all the way up, Estonia, Poland, all these places are going to have large amounts of wealth in a buildup of military that will keep Putin at bay.
We were really happy to have Nawrocki in the studio because.
Sorry if you're Russian. I love the Russian people. I love everybody. It's just governments I don't like. And Putin, I think, is a dipshit and has murdered people forever. And he's not a good dude. And just like Xi is, well, Xi's even worse.
Of the Polish economy as well. And by the way, he wants more F-35s.
Putin is like vanilla. He's like not even a dictator if you compare him to Xi Jinping.
Buying equipment from the United States, weapons, big time. I want to take your attention back to domestic issues and ask you about Anna Paulina Luna, because Anna Paulina Luna, the Florida Congresswoman, is urging you and the Treasury to investigate billionaire Neville Roy Singham and his ties to the CCP and whether.
I don't care about this just yet. I want to jump, since they're jumping topics here, talking about the CCP in China. I want to go over here and talk about Solana. So you asked me, like, hey, Joe, and it could have been jokingly, but I want to make sure that people are clear on this. You asked me about Solana, a 2x fund with that, or Tesla, a 2x fund with that. So here's the thing. I love Tesla. Yes, it's getting ready to break out. It's going to be dramatically slower, though. I can't say slower, but it could be like a year or something, right? And 2x funds can really get fucked over that time frame. But I'm telling you, I think I'm excited. I actually think we're going to pretty much go straight up. And I think we'll hit either 750 or 900 by next year. But here's the problem with that. How high is that? So by the end of next year, a year and a half from now, how well are we going to be doing? Let's just look at this. So right now, we're right here. We're going to zoom this up and say that we can go up 27% or maybe even 75, or maybe this thing even doubles, right? Well, what does that get you? In a year and a half, if we hit that, or a year from now, if we hit that, it's probably closer to a year and a half. If we hit this, you get maybe 250% upside if we just pretty much go straight up and don't have major drops, because the drops, that theta decay will just destroy you in a 2x fund. So you can maybe get 250%, but Solana, I'm telling you, Solana has consolidated for a similar amount of time, going back to November of 2021. It's getting ready to break out. And like I had portrayed the other day, maybe we go down a little bit more this week and bounce off of here. It's possible. It looks like it's going to. But if we do that, this looks like an inverse head and shoulder that gets us perfectly with a measured move to $650. Now, that number from where we're at right now, let me just pull it down here, is 200%. So what I'm telling you is you're likely to get 500% in a couple of months versus 250% over the next year and a half. Do you see why I'm more excited and looking to put some more into this 2x fund today based on that? This is the better opportunity, right? It's an asymmetric opportunity with something that is good tech. Just listen to James and Marty Party talk about it relentlessly about how good it is, and they're right. And it's been brutalized for most of the year and really peaked out at the beginning of this last year. And so in 2025, to be clear. So and we're getting ready to do this inversion and go to the upside in the area of the market that's very parabolic. So yes, I want a 500% return instead of 250 over a year and a half. Because if I take that 500 and then let's say Tesla gets beat up over the next couple of months, it's probably not. I mean, it's probably going up too. But let's say that at some point it gets beat up and I've made an extra 500 or 1,000% with my money, or just versus what I would have made, like 300% more with my money, then I can get a lot more of that Tesla and I can capitalize on those returns going forward, which I think are going to end up being better than Bitcoin over the next, let's say a month from now. I think that anything forward looking, Tesla is going to do better than Bitcoin for the next several years. That's the way it works normally. And I think we're going to see some kind of oscillation. I don't think the money printers are going to go burr as much as everybody's worried about. And if that's true, if the U.S. is doing better than people realize, maybe it still does go burr, and the Bitcoin trade is a really good one because China's falling apart, and other parts of the world that are affiliated with China and not associated with the United States, like Argentina, who we're going to help right now, who just got a $4 billion loan extension from the World Bank all of a sudden after we said, hey, Argentina, we got you. Scott Bessant and the President of the United States, they're like, Argentina are our friends. We love them. We take care of them. That's why I'm arguing and have been arguing that ARGT is going to be a good fund. Anyway, I'm talking about everything. But I do believe, just to kind of summarize it up here, that this is a better investment. I think you can make a lot of money from it. I think a month out from now, you need to be looking forward towards things like Argentina, towards ARK-K or ARK-G, which is getting ready to break out. This is so beautiful, guys. ARK-K already did, right? That was the technology side of the fence. But look at this. Look at ARK-G right now. And I haven't looked at the options contracts right now, but I'm guessing maybe 10x the underlying for potential returns if you're going out a year on an options contract. You can look that up yourself. I made a video about options contracts. I already own a bunch, so I'm not touching it. But this is crazy. We're getting ready to break out, and where you have intersections like this first fib extension and this downward trend, when they collide, that's really when you get the breakouts. And so what I'm saying is we're a week or a month away from just exploding higher, and that can give us 37% to 117. But I just got done telling you, or 122, I'm sorry, but I just got done telling you I can 10x my money if this thing goes up 122% because of the options that I hold. So I'm talking 10 or 11 or 12x money on a potential for ARKG. And that would be sweet, would it not? Would that not be sweet? I think it would be. So lots of good stuff. Let's get back over here.
He's
never even received a phone call from.
So they kill that. So I'll check and see what the rest of what Scott Bessant said. I do apologize for talking over it. Let's keep going, though. I've got a lot more to talk about on economic data, and then I want to jump into AI. So Seth Golden said, warning flag, margin debt has begun to rise faster. And so this is a real worry, guys. I will always try and decipher out what is bullshit and not a real worry and what you should be worried about in the future. All right? Because I'm not a doomer. I'm an optimist, but I'm an optimist who's still based in reality. And it says margin debt has begun to rise faster than the S&P. In August, its year-over-year growth rate was 33% compared to a mere 14% for the SPX. Tops of 2000, 2007, and 2021 were all preceded by similar attempts to magnify SPX gains that were already far above average. So I'm using margin debt. I haven't used margin debt in a long time. So it's a small amount. It doesn't really matter for me. But what he's saying is people are becoming more levered. Now, what he's also saying, if you look at this, is the leverage can go a lot higher, right? This is margin debt minus the 12-month percentage change in the S&P 500. This is Leuthold Group that distributes this data. But again, if you look over here, this blue line is really what you want to look at. You can see the peaks are usually in the 60s and 80s, and we're not there yet. So I do believe this is a concern, and I think it's something we should focus on in the future. But right now, focus on the fact that we're in fear in the crypto markets and almost out of greed to neutral in the stock market. And if we look over at the Bitcoin signals, it looks like ETF to BTC ratio now is in. So we're 1 out of 30 indicators. I would expect at least half of these to trigger before we hit the top. So we got 14 more to go roughly, guys, before we need to start getting worried. All right, let's keep going. But these are things that we're looking at. One of many different things. We'll be looking at all these different. We'll be looking at macro-related ones that tell us that we're getting too far extended and that we have to be worried and have to maybe go to some safety and get some cash too, and maybe some good hedges, which I've been thinking about. And I'm probably going to crowdsource all of you guys and X in the subscriber side of things. Like maybe we'll publish our questions to everybody. But then in the subscriber side, we'll talk about, okay, what do we think are good hedges heading into the end of this year that can protect us against downside risk over the next one and maybe even 2 years, like maybe hedges for different time frames, just so we have a nice broad, relief. And we're not going to try and make a bunch of money off of that. That's not what you do with a hedge. What you try and do is get an asymmetric return that helps you to where if it drops 10%, you get 100, something like that, right? Or maybe 5, or maybe 50% or 60%. You want to at least get a multiplier, and you put like 5% of your port in these hedges, maybe 10 if you're getting crazy, if you're really worried. And if you're getting a 5 to 10x, you're basically almost making all your money back, right? And so, but we don't want to get crazy with it. Max allocation, probably 10% in the hedge. Otherwise, cash. On the sidelines. And again, still owning the most important things like Tesla and I think ARGT. Emerging markets do really well in low rate environments, especially if the dollar continues to weaken, which I think we're going to do. And so there's a lot of hedges that are exciting, guys. A lot of them. Anyway, top 100 companies in the NASDAQ, when given equal weight, are breaking out. This shows greater market breadth than just 7 or 8 stocks. So again, the top 100, if we equal weight them and not market cap weight them, we are seeing that it's broadening. It's broadening in the NASDAQ, guys. That's a good sign. Ryan Detrick, in case you wondered why stocks are at new highs, this says, FactSet I love these guys. They're so great. S&P 500 annual bottom up EPS. So earnings per share, actual and estimates. So if you look here, guys, we're seeing since 2020, just numbers go up. And in 2021, 2022, and 2023, they were pretty slow. But look at 2024 now, and then look at the guidance going forward. This assumes a weakening dollar or a stronger manufacturing base. This assumes tariff revenues and just there's a lot of things that are happening right now that are driving EPS higher, and it's really about the weak dollar, which we're shooting for. So again, 50% of the money of the revenues for the S&P come from international sales, and those are all benefiting right now. So this is good. Now, will this be bad potentially at the end of the year heading into Q1? Because as we start to kind of cyclically roll over, maybe we peak. Yes, that's possible. We'll pay attention to it. But right now, it's game on. I said, they told you it was going to be a bad month, and I told you it wasn't. Ryan says 28 all-time highs in 2025, 8 new all-time highs for the S&P in September, most in September since 9 in 2017. So we've had our best September since 2017. That's pretty exciting. I said more investments coming to the USA. Thank you, Canada and Mark Carney. Let's just listen to this one real quick.
TC Energy, one of Canadian pipeline operator TC Energy, one of North America's leading energy infrastructure companies, betting big on America's energy future. The company is planning to invest more than $8.5 billion in U.S. projects over the next 5 years, including the Virginia Reliability Project, a major pipeline upgrade aimed at strengthening.
I just want to thank Canada for their service and for investing in America and making America great again. I want to thank Mark Carney. You guys are doing your part. You're importing a bunch of illegal immigrants. You're fucking everybody that pays taxes in your country. And then at the same time, you're spending your money in the United States. And that's the American way. So thank you guys.
Energy security and powering growth.
And if you live in Canada, just move to provinces that want to separate. And then when they try to take your guns, we'll help you guys join America. Okay? That's the plan.
Within the Commonwealth. Company also raising its full-year profit outlook, citing stronger demand for natural gas and power across North America.
Isn't that great? So there's demand out there too, guys, and you're investing in us. Alberta's probably a good place to live. And again, that way you can keep your guns, and then we'll help you become America. And then you guys can literally be America's hat. It'll look a lot like a hat. It'll make a lot more sense. Let's keep going. Gemini credit card pays in BTC 3.5% yield, which is exciting. Seth Golden, they keep harping on credit card delinquencies. Oh, we already saw that one. Let me go back. I want to see, though. I thought there was another one from Seth that I wanted to look at. Oh, I hate it when you move too much. It gets all weird. Oh, let me go here. I'm going to go into Seth's because he had another one in here. I just wanted to show like the difference in numbers. Let me see. You know what? Fuck, I'll do that some other time. But yeah, it was like 10x difference between people excited about negativity versus reality. All right, so real quickly, next move, real fast. Let me see. AI and chips. We're going to do this real quick because there's a video from Sam Altman. I hate this motherfucker, but I do think he's right about this, and I want you guys to hear it. 1 second. Well, actually, his second in command or whatever, who's here, he's right about it, and Sam is too.
The scale of this project.
This is Stargate. I love that name, and I hate that he picked it.
$100 billion is a small dent in it. And the numbers are also like, they're missing the story of what this amount of infrastructure is capable of doing. Like 10 gigawatts of compute, again, easy to throw around numbers like that. But the amount of work it takes to build that out, the size and scale of these multi-square mile gigantic things, and the complexity at every level of the supply chain, and then what that amount of brain power, which does not exist today, can do already today. What it will do is the models get better. Like, this is the real deal. This is the thing people have been waiting for. They talk about AI.
He's right. He's right. And I hate this motherfucker, but he is right. People are drastically underestimating how much of a reduction we're going to see in research and task-related processes as far as their cost, and then how much efficiency gain we're going to get from automating out these processes. It will cause a lot of job losses in the administrative side of everything. That's a whole nother problem, but it will be so that will be at the expense of unemployment, right? But we're deporting a bunch of illegal immigrants, and that way, therefore, opening up jobs that they might have been in for other people that might get into these situations where their administrative job isn't working, and they can go fill jobs that immigrants are losing, so that they have some kind of employment. We'll have a transitionary period, but the wealth and the earnings per share and the margins that both small to large companies that embrace AI and technology are going to receive are going to be exponential, and they're going to be massive. And the amount of money that's going to be invested in this, he's going to talk about that in a second, along with the other guy that's on here. Listen to this. This is so important that you get this.
When it's going to do this and when it's going to do that, like the stuff that will come out of this super brain will be remarkable in a way I think we don't really know how to think about yet.
$100 billion is a small dent. Now you sound like President Trump. And
one way to contextualize.
But listen to this. This is the good part. 100 billion is nothing, is what Sam Altman said, and this guy's going to tell you why. This will blow your fucking mind if you're registering what's happening here.
The scale of what we're talking about and the compute scarcity of the world that we're heading towards.
Yeah.
You know, ChatGPT today, you talk to it, it gives you answers, but clearly you want an agent that's going to go do work for you proactively while you're asleep.
By
be able
admins.
to organize your calendar or go, try to work on projects for you.
Sure.
And so you really want every person to be able to have their own dedicated GPU. Right? So you're talking order of 10 billion GPUs we're going to need. This deal we're talking about, it's for millions of GPUs. Like, we're still 3 orders of magnitude off of where we need to be.
We're talking about millions of GPUs right now, and it really should be 10 billion, maybe more. Because you could daisy chain these things and have multiple compute per person. So the limit isn't really even there. But what he's telling you is it's 3 orders of magnitude. So this leads more along okay, maybe we have technical hiccups at the end of the year where long invest will seem smart for a minute because of his biasness and thinking Kamala Harris is a good president. What the fuck? That's retarded. Anyway, I still like the guy. He's good at what he does. But where you see something where the market goes down and people think that it's the end of the world and that all the narrative gets really dark, and then maybe it bounces after 20% or even a 30% pullback, and then we just start to rip, and we rip for years. I'm starting to think, and my position can change all the time, guys. This is what Benjamin Cohen didn't seem to understand when he was trying to shit on me on X the other day, and I blocked him and every one of his fucking shitty followers that were antagonizing me all day and telling me I was a fucking moron because Ethereum had dropped a couple of percent from where I said it was going to go up. And but what they don't get is there's nuance. I literally said that Bitcoin was dropping before it dropped, and where it was going to go, and where it's sitting right now, and where it's finding support. If you look down in the bottom right corner, is perfectly on the green line that I've portrayed, and I think that's the bottom, and I think we end up going up. But I don't know where I was headed, but we're going to spend so much on all of this that, again, I think we're going to have that intermittent drop, and then we're going to go up, and then I think we're going to rip for years. And that's kind of, I think, what Tom Lee is thinking and a bunch of these other people that are really, really smart. They realize that we will see higher levels of unemployment, but if we're deporting a bunch of illegal immigrants that weren't supposed to be here to begin with, especially the bad guys, and then they're self-deporting, and we're not paying all of their business expenses and giving them housing and increasing housing prices, all the bullshit, we'll see shelter come down even more, and we'll see an economy that's booming because of AI advancements and earnings per share continually getting revised higher. I think it's such a big deal. We may have bigger inflation later. I've been saying for a long time, I think 3 to 4% will be our new number. It's not going to be 2%. We don't want it to be 2%. That's not what's happening right now. We're heading towards an exponential age. It should be more. And you know what we do to fix that? We invest every American, or get every American to start investing in the future of the economy. And the people that come along with that the quickest and see all their friends getting rich from AI and from advancements with Tesla and SpaceX and genomics, all these different sectors that are just advancing quicker and quicker, and all these new news things that are coming up every day. the people that get on board with that are going to make a ton of money, and everybody else is going to get pulled in. And we're already embracing Bitcoin and crypto. And the more that people invest in crypto and stable coins, the more they get pulled into the US dollar, the lower our rates get, along with all the other levers that we're going to be pulling. I am bullish as fuck about what's going to happen with this economy in the next several years right now. That could change, but I am bullish as fuck. And I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon. I just think we're going to have a hiccup along the way because of technicals, margin debt, all these other things are going to kind of peak and they're going to push us down at some point, but we're going up first, guys. And don't fade what Sam Altman's friends are saying here, that there's 3 orders of magnitude. An order of magnitude is a 10x, but you have to 10x that 10x to get to the second one. And then you have to 10x that 10x to get to the fucking third one. So if you like a 10x and a 10x and a 10x, and you can understand how much that's going to help your bottom line, then let's ride, because it's going to be fun as shit. All right, stop there. Go to other stuff. I'm going to go to Tesla real quick. Jesse, what's your current take on MSTR, BMNR versus miners? I exited all my miners position. That's a bummer. I have not exited miner positions because I was stuck in them because of options, which actually is working out pretty good right now. So I do think that CleanSpark is still going higher. I talked about it. I think right now that HPC miners are, a lot of miners are, the HPC play is still big. I think iron's probably getting close to toppy over the short term. I said that the other day. And it appears to be like it could be. I don't know. Maybe it still goes up to 80. But then it retraces. But I do think other people are looking at other things. They're looking at the ciphers. They're looking at anybody else that's HPC. And now we got that good news from CleanSpark the other day that they're getting a $100 million credit line. And that what happened? There was a shooting at an ICE facility. Fucking A. I don't want to look at that right now. Yeah, 3 people shot or something. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, CleanSpark, I think, is going to go up a lot because, again, they're not diluting shareholders, but they're getting a $100 million line of credit from Coinbase so that they can push into the HPC play, and I think that's going to help them with diversification. And I think everybody's doing that, and they're just going to work to get bigger headlines that they're HPC and less about Bitcoin. But they'll show how they're, like, CleanSpark will have the benefit of their, and Mara will have the benefit of their Bitcoin going up in value and making things look good on their balance sheet. And then at the same time, they can capitalize even more by having HPC, which I think is going to do really well in the coming months, as a narrative to push them higher too. So I think it's all good. Dario said, SMCI, can you check the technicals and share your view? Yeah, let's talk about some of that stuff in a little bit here. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. I want to finish up with some of these others. But I said the other day that Tesla stock is going higher. I said that I believe that we can get into the 700s and even the 900s in the not too distant future. And I do believe that's what's happening. I think that's happening by the end of 2026. We could be taking a breather here. We're not above the weekly yet. I showed the latest view of that. But I think if we don't do it right, like if we don't do it this week, I think next week we're breaking out and we're gonna start going higher, and that's going to be a really good sign for Tesla. It's going to look really, really great. Let's keep going down. We've got Tesla spotted doing robotaxi validation testing in Plano, Texas, 25 minutes from Dallas. We're seeing expansions everywhere, guys. Look at this. Vehicle operator, Oakland, Burlingame, this is for California, Colma, Berkeley. Waymo is just getting dwarfed right now by what's going on with Tesla. And I wanted to speak real quickly to this, guys, and then I might hit the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back. But Elon Musk said, just as we will be first to bring a gigawatt of coherent training compute online, we will also be the first for 10, 100, 1 terawatt, etc. What he is saying here is, hey, Sam Altman, it's fucking cute that NVIDIA is investing in you to deploy your systems quicker. We will beat you every fucking time. There is no second best. We are the best, and we will stay the best. That is what Elon Musk is saying right here. And when he tells you something like that, you better fucking listen. That is my advice to you. There's this video with the unbox process, which is great. I'm going to real quickly, though, I'm going to hit the restroom. Just give me 1 second. and just like literally 1 minute probably, and listen to Jimmy here for a second.
On the one hand, Carl, it all seems ridiculous. Trillion here, trillions. On the other hand, the demand is so big. Now, I was with a bunch of people in the last, I'd say, 3-4 days, all of whom think that their job is going to go away. These are all high-level people.
That is the really interesting wrinkle, is that how much end market demand can there be when that market itself is going to be displaced by this technology?
Well, that's
the page 1 of the Cincinnati Enquirer today is about a 77% surge in utility costs. Ohio is the number 5 state for data centers.
It's a big deal, and I know that Pennsylvania had a conference. Cincinnati, they got other problems. Cincinnati without Burrow, I mean, they're pathetic. I can't watch them. But I do think that Ohio and Pennsylvania, man, if I lived in those states, I'd be worried about my electric bill, and they're going to have to deal with that. I would not. Texas, by the way, what a place to build.
Well, and they're building, my gosh, there's so much. I mean, it's enormous, the Stargate project. Again, there we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of billions. You've got to come up with new creative ways to finance this stuff. It's going to just go on and on. Again, there's sort of a sense. We had reporting from there yesterday. They invited a lot of people down. They're all the partners. We'll talk to Renee Haas in a little bit.
They have it. They could borrow, David. They could all borrow.
By the way, everybody's got to come in here. Private credit, I've talked about that. By the way, I've also often talked about the fact that the CapEx numbers for the hyperscalers are understated because at the end of the day, they're borrowing so much. The private credit ends up owning the data center. They then are simply paying a rent for it, and they're great credit. So it's even understated there. Jim, is it all going to make sense 10 years from now?
Well, you saw Michael Intrader.
Yes.
I mean, Intrader would tell you that the value of these things is not as finite as people think. Now, JP Morgan, which questions the value of these.
I don't care about all this. So I don't know what I missed. You guys let me know. I do believe, though, that a lot of this is still ready to balloon higher. I'm very strong in that belief. And so I think everything's going up. Again, maybe we get a little breather in October, or maybe we just don't get one. Maybe we don't get one. Maybe it's just up, relentlessly into November. Who knows? But with everything, I'm not just talking Tesla here, but everything. And maybe, again, I do think this no matter what, because I've seen it every single cycle, every single Bitcoin cycle that I've participated in since 2017. There'll be a period where the stock market underperforms crypto, and that's coming right now. So really quickly. But yeah, so you got the unbox process, you've got expansion in across everywhere with the autopilot software. Chicken Genius is messing with my brain. The only time I followed his trade, I got burned. I'm sticking with you and James. That's probably a better idea. I think he's just scared. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't have an edge, and sometimes you don't have an edge. And I'm not giving him a hard time about it. I get it. Tesla. So again, one of the things I wanted to talk about with this, though, is not only do we have the robotaxi, which is great. Not only do we have the semi, which is going to be really getting pushed out this next year. Not only do we have energy still growing like crazy. You got to think about all the stuff that was happening in China. We've got these big energy packs that are going to be getting deployed out of the China factories at low cost with huge margins. All that stuff's happening too. You have the Tesla opening up in all these different markets. A little bit of cost overhang in the beginning, but that's going to end up benefiting them a lot too. And then you have, again, a huge amount of their international sales that are going to get a much higher earnings per share because of the weaker dollar. The dollar is down, guys, by a huge amount. Let's just look at this, right? So let's just look at this. So just since, let's see, July here, look at this range that we're in. We went from a peak in January up here of 109. How much of a drop is that? Let's look at how much of a drop this is. We went from this range over here, let's just say right here, all the way down. Let's just put it down to here. 12%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a huge amount of money when all of a sudden, and again, a lot of this didn't start dropping until March. And even then, it looks like what over here in May. So we're into Q2 here. We were still hovering around this 101 range. But even since that time, look at how much lower the dollar is. And I think it's going to continue to go lower. Maybe it bottoms here for a little bit. But again, at the very least, we're looking at Q3 results and heading into Q4 looking positive. That's all I care about for now. All right, let's keep going. Jesse, did you talk? I did talk about Salt, yeah. All right, let's keep going. Tesla, everybody's raising their price targets. Mizuho, Piper Sandler, Baird, Goldman Sachs, everybody's going from low numbers to high numbers. Chase, and they're going to keep chasing. Remember to vote. Tesla Boomer Mama and Sawyer Merritt tell you how to vote, guys. I did my votes. Make sure you do yours too. I did mine both. Where was I? I think on SoFi, and the other one was Wells Fargo. I did my voting on both. And again, so not only do we have all the other stuff, look at here. We've got Tesla advisors and service techs in Colombia, in Central America. We're already in Chile. So we're starting to push our way into Central America. I see more and more of that coming. I said this before, but literally no second best with SpaceX. Look at the number of rocket launches that SpaceX did. In Q2, service providers worldwide launched 1,200 spacecrafts. Not even. SpaceX was 1,060 of those. United Launch Alliance was 54. China was 50. And then it's Rocket Lab. Look at Rocket Lab at 8. I know people are all excited about Rocket Lab and just giving it huge valuations. But, I mean, can we just be honest here? And this is before the Starship really becomes a distribution mechanism. It's an order of magnitude more cargo than what we see from their existing heavy rockets. So it's just that land themselves. It's fucking insane. We don't even talk about that anymore. Isn't that wild? Yeah, look right here. Once Starship is flying frequently with real payloads next year, then SpaceX will probably deliver over 95% of total Earth payload to orbit, despite others, especially China, continuing to grow. So he thinks the entire sector is going to grow, but he believes that SpaceX will be able to do 95 to 98% of all payload mass. So you can get excited about Rocket Lab and all this other stuff, but I'm sorry, if 95 to 98% of the market is SpaceX and they built a Starship that's a 30-story building when it goes up into space, I don't see how you're going to compete with that. But it's cute. Macro Polo, does the following dollar also help offset the tariffs? Or dollar? Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, true. Good point. It can. Well, I mean, it does in a way. So your purchasing power overseas actually becomes weaker. But what you're incentivized to do is buy locally. And when you buy locally, you're putting money into the U.S. system. You're not investing it. You're not doing foreign direct investment where you're putting all your money into China and enriching their country. You're enriching our country. So in a way, by having a weaker dollar and by having the tariffs in place, you're actually making America richer, especially at the lower end of the market where people are able to find jobs and they're able to work in America and have a good income and have higher wages. That's what we want, right? Deport the illegals, especially the violent criminals that are here, get them out, prioritize them first, take out anybody that's around them because they're probably not in great shape either, or again, it's just easy. And as we lower the population of illegal immigrants, we're going to help the lower end of wages for the bottom 1/3. And also, as we employ and create jobs for manufacturing in the United States, and again, a lot of it will be automated away, but people will have to run equipment. There'll still be jobs that are out there. We can put these people to work while reducing our unemployment because we're getting rid of people that are competing against them in the workforce. I think it's all very, very positive, personally. And Elon Musk said Tesla is about to spark the biggest creation of wealth ever. So this person said, this week I will drop another $50,000 into Tesla. This is the surfing cyber surgeon. He said the majority of our population doesn't even know what's about to happen. As Elon said, this will be the biggest wealth transfer in human history. That's already a huge statement, okay? That's a huge statement in and of itself. But then Elon said, not transfer of wealth, creation of wealth. What he's saying is we're not going to transfer it like Bitcoin is doing, right? That's a transfer of wealth from one group to another because of a change in technology. He's saying we're multiplying it, magnifying it. And the opposite of a zero-sum game where we're taking from somebody and giving to somebody over here, we're just going to be creating wealth and printing it like crazy every day. And Uber CEO and a bunch of these others like the Waymo, Googles of the earth, BYD, Warren Buffett just sold out of all of it. They're all selling their shit, and Elon Musk bought $1 billion worth of his stock. If that doesn't tell you about what's happening next, I don't know what does. Ago says, Jesse, sorry if you covered this already, but if, as you know, MTPLF, I'm assuming, is in the doldrums, down quite a bit for me. I'm bullish for it long term, but tempted to switch. I wouldn't do that. You're just not going to get the same return. Over the short term, I don't think you're going to get the same return with Tesla. Again, I just kind of made that argument with Solana, talking about how you could maybe get a 500% return over the next 2 months with Solana. Or you could, over the next year and a half or a year, make a couple hundred, 200 to 250% off of Tesla. I think you should shoot for the 500 over the next 2 months. That same rule applies with Metaplanet and these others, even though Bitcoin treasuries have underperformed. But I think maybe still altcoins lead us higher, and then Bitcoin comes with, and then Bitcoin steals from the altcoins and goes higher, and then altcoins pull back a little bit, and then all of a sudden, as Bitcoin stabilizes, and then altcoins pump one last time maybe, and then we drop. That's kind of what I think. Kay got caught at diamond hands. Yes, I think so. I just wouldn't make that. I don't think you're going to be as happy. Like, should you have done that before it broke out, before Tesla started going up? Maybe. You could make that argument, right? That maybe that would have been a better time to rotate. And it was, actually, and that's what I was doing. I didn't do it with enough money, but I did make that rotation, and it ended up benefiting me greatly. Let me see if I can find Tesla. Dollar. There we go. And so down here, again, around the 330 range, that was a better opportunity. And how much has it went in that time? So if you would have done it down here, right, like right around here before we bounced, you could have got all the way up to 35, almost 35% return. So yes, that was the better play. But from where we are right now, I just don't think you're going to get enough movement over the short term. You'll be bored sitting there watching it maybe go up a little bit. Maybe it even gets up to here, but it's just not going to be comparable percentage-wise to what you would probably get over on the other side of things. That's my take, not financial advice, just telling you what I think. Yeah, okay. All right, let's keep going. Market opens in 11 minutes. Once Powell is out, May 2026, I don't think we're going down. I actually think he's going to be out before that, but I still think we're going down. I think he's going to, because I don't think he's going to be out at the end of the year, beginning of next year. And I think, again, margin debt, all these other things, we're going to see valuations. If we melt up over the next 2 months, you have to factor that into your equation. You have to look from that vantage point, not from where we are today. But if we melt up, if the S&P goes to 7,500, my target from May, that is at a scary level of success, right? Let me just pull this over real quick. So if the S&P goes to where I think it can go, let's just look back here at the history of the S&P. And I'm going to make the opposite argument of what I did before. So over here, I was telling you guys we're so sold off. And right here, I said, look, we have a little bit more that we could drop to the 200 moving average. The bottom trend line, which we have overshot a couple times. We did it in 2020 because of a fucking pandemic, and we did it during the great financial crisis. But outside of that, this is one of few times where we were ever at this level. Look at this. It was pretty much buy. Like all in. You bought a little early. Did it matter in a year? All in, right? Like these are levels. Couldn't even get there for years. Like a decade. Couldn't even get down to that lower end. So I was super bullish, right? But then that opposite rule applies over here. Peak. Roll over. Peak. Haven't gotten there yet, but if we're getting to an S&P 11% higher and we hit this upper band, I'm just going to tell you, mechanics will pull that down. I don't know what all the narratives are going to be. I think got a pretty good idea. But factor that into your thinking. Think about where you're going to be in the future. And so if you think we're going to do really well, you've got to look at that point and say, we're probably doing too well. And maybe there's a narrative about maybe it's war, maybe it's stagflation, maybe it's a reinflation narrative because the economy's doing too good. Maybe people are worried at the end of the year in December, November, that the economy is doing too good and that the S&P has performed too well, and that's what sends us down. So you always got to think out, like extend your view substantially so that you can think about what's happening in the future. Real quickly, I want to jump into this real quick. I'm going to jump into Trump because I want to talk. There's a bunch of things here. First off, stupid bitch taking Tylenol, pregnant. She is an MD. She does fertility medicine in New York. Even fucking Tylenol, going back years and years and years, says not to do this when you're pregnant. Fucking asinine. And this person is in this field. And also, I'm glad that Gavin Newsom has toned down the rhetoric, guys, because we need to bring it together, guys. We need to end the violence. I think that was the message after the Charlie Kirk thing, that we need to work together and bring down the rhetoric. Let's see how that's going a week later.
I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
So, yeah, he's going to steal democracy from us, the tyrant. So they've done a great job toning down rhetoric. I'm glad it lasted a couple days after, not even, Charlie Kirk's funeral. This is fun. So we've got Dearborn, Michigan. We've got that stupid bitch, Rashida Tlaib, who is a fucking terrorist, who refused to condemn what was happening in Dearborn, Michigan, where you can hear that the mayor even condemned it. You can hear "Death to America" being chanted in Muslim Dearborn, Michigan, while the mayor is talking. I think this is the mayor.
الموت لأمريكا! الموت لأمريكا! الموت لأمريكا!
Not a great. So that's kind of fucked up, right? Is it fucked up that we've got senators who sit in Congress who are okay with people in her district saying "Death to America"? That's our country. I don't know if you knew that. So I don't know. I don't think that's good. I also said Democrats are lunatics. Why did I say this? I don't know. Let's look at Nick Sorter, probably one of the nicest people around. Somebody who actually said in this same video, later in it, that he believes that what Israel is doing, the overbombing of Gaza, is bad. But he does believe that what happened on October 7th was horrible, and that the Palestinians, and especially Hamas, created this war. But that what he doesn't like what Israel's doing with it. So keep all of that in mind. This guy's pretty much down the middle with some of these thoughts, but conservative leaning, but again, thoughtful. And look at how he gets treated in New York City at a protest rally against the UN assembly and Trump speaking.
My name's Nick Shirley.
Yo, he's Nick Shirley.
He knows me.
The guy he said that he knows me, that was the head of Black Lives Matter. That the guy that was shit talking him and basically shit talking whites in the last video. This time he's staying silent and letting the mob attack Nick. He doesn't want to say anything because he's afraid that he could put some kind of ownership or some negativity down on him, and he's too much of a pussy to say anything. But let's look at this mob and think about this being representing the Democratic Party.
I never said anything like that.
Say fuck Charlie Kirk!
Why would I say that?
Say fuck him!
Why would I say that?
He's racist!
No, he's not.
Yes, he is!
No, he's not.
I don't know who this crackhead bitch is, but she's going to throw her titties out in a second.
He said if my pilot was black, I would question their credentials. And he said black women got brain processing power!
Well, look at you. Look at you. Look at you.
He's not black women! You can't be for the Palestinians and against the blacks! How much do you get? You can't be for the Palestinians and against the blacks! How much money do you get to
Against the blacks.
You have to be pro-black if you're pro-Palestinian. You want to blame us?
Hey, stop it. Stop it. Get off. Get off.
Charlie Kirk. Hey, asshole, you want to blame us for Charlie Kirk?
I ain't blaming you for Charlie Kirk.
Oh, why not? Every fucking other right-winger is.
I'm not blaming you.
The left is the
Look at
right?
you guys.
Kirk, rest in peace.
Look at NYPD's laughing at you. Get out of here.
I want to be on his line. You're getting what you wanted. This is what you wanted.
I didn't want any of this.
This is what you wanted.
I came here to talk to you guys.
You're getting exactly what you wanted.
This is the modern Democratic Party. I won't subject you to any more of it. And this. Look, listen to this. Listen to this. This is ABC News, guys. They know what they're doing, right?
The murder of Charlie Kirk was not a political act.
Not a political act. It's not a political act. It was a MAGA guy. 2/3 of these fucking people think that of the Democratic Party think, or at least half, depending upon where you're looking, they think that Charlie Kirk's murderer was MAGA. This is insane. And now in Canada, we've got them trying to confiscate firearms. Again, be happy that we don't have Kamala Harris and that you have Trump. And Rep. Jim Jordan said, due to our oversight efforts, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube because of political speech violations to return to the platform. So we're leaning on these platforms to prevent them from being able to censor people that have a different view than them. And this is starting to change things. Twitch, guys. Twitch has an insane dude that talks about death to America and murdering people all the time. His name's Hassan. All the time talking about murdering people and disparaging other people with lies. Blatant lies. And he gets away with it because Twitch is more than happy to keep him on because they like his political views, the murder the right views, right? Well, the CEO of Twitch actually has to testify in front of Congress in early October. So we'll see how that goes, because they're going after him. And so we're going to see a lot more stuff like this where the right is fighting back against the blatant censorship on one side, but then allowing people to talk about death to America and we should be murdering property owners in the streets if they don't rent out or give their properties away and let people live in them because of capitalism bad, all that stuff, right? Like just insane fucking takes. Murderous takes. Celebrating Hamas, celebrating ISIS, celebrating terrorist organizations, and calling themselves Antifa. You guys are fucked. Antifa is a terrorist organization. You guys are fucked. It's 2 minutes now to the bell. Kind of talked about that already. We got Leo Kuan Yew, founding father of Singapore, visited London after World War II and couldn't believe how high trust Western society was. Unsupervised shops where people would take items and leave the exact change. That is not the case anymore. The North Carolina House of Representatives has passed Arena's law, which ends cashless bail for violent criminals. Thank God something good came out of this. We've got, I don't know if people realize this, but the Tylenol warnings that Trump was referring to are backed by Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Mount Sinai, Columbia, and a bunch more. So these are real issues where a Tylenol could be causing autism in children of parents that are taking these things, especially when they're pregnant. And you have people that are literally representing hospitals that are doing social media videos taking this fucking shit. Good morning, Jesse. This is why I love this channel. You're always upfront with reality. Thank you. I try to be. Got about a minute till the bell. Here's a Muslim voter getting pissed, finding out that Zohran Mamdani wants to legalize prostitution. He's got some interesting woke-ass Islamic State, kill Israel type views, doesn't he?
All right, I understand your position.
The answer is
yes or no?
will never, ever sponsor a bill that will legalize prostitution as a Muslim brother. He will never, ever do that.
I'll bet you $10 on it.
Unfortunately, I don't bet.
Sex work. I would like to register my support for such legislation, my eagerness for that debate, and for my fundamental belief that sex work is work.
Yeah, so that's a little bit different than what they believe, isn't it? So that'll be interesting as his Muslim and woke-ass beliefs collide and his communistic beliefs collide. In pre-market, we got Tesla up almost 1%. We got things flipping over. Baba on fire because people all of a sudden think that China is going to be the king of AI, which is funny as shit to me. Or maybe they just think the whole sector is expanding and Baba's just another sign of that. All right, so this will refresh in a second. Let me pull up here and start to look at some others. So Tesla up 1%. Again, pushing up against this barrier. I don't know if we get above it this week. I hope we do. If we don't, I think it's going to be next week. So we'll see if we can pull it off. The dollar is bouncing a little bit today. Let's roll over. Drug dealers too. Can we go over some technical analysis before you leave? Oh, hell yeah. We're not done yet. ARKG, just kind of, again, sitting next to the breakout zone. So we got Tesla sitting near a breakout zone. We got ARKG sitting near a breakout zone. We've got Solana looking, I don't know, maybe to drop even further and test down at least to this first fib, completing our inverse head and shoulders before we go higher. We've got Ethereum finding its base. We've got Bitcoin finding its base if we look down over here. Hopefully I'm not streaming. Am I getting jittery again? Can you guys see that? It started to for a second. Hopefully it's not doing anything. I saw that yesterday too. Yeah, he wants to legalize drug dealers. He wants to get rid of police. He wants to buy up all the real estate in the city and then give it to people. Basically communism. It's horrible. I'm good? Okay. All right. Hey, Intuitive. Is that what it is? I can't quite read. My glasses might not be good. Thank you for becoming a member. You can speak in chat now. Hopefully, try and refresh, guys. Let me know if you do have any issues. Oh, it's better now? Okay, good. Russell up today, so 0.07. It's actually underperforming the NASDAQ and the S&P, which are doing 0.18 and 0.2. And then Dow Jones Industrial is at 0.25, still in a breakout zone. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe stock market does okay for a couple of days, maybe into the next week. And then I can see... if I can, I said this earlier, Amit, I'm going to see if my Wells Fargo allows me to buy SOLT, and I might actually buy some SOLT in that account. So I'll let you guys know, because I have done really well off of Tesla. I might sell a little bit of my Tesla in an account that isn't my long-term account, and then use some of that to buy SOLT, because, again, I think it could do a 5X versus maybe a doubling. Yeah, anyway, so... things are looking good. The Russell, again, everything's kind of in a breakout zone. If it's crypto, it's consolidating and looking like it's finding a base. And the stock market looks like it's going to continue to go up. I could see that continue to happen. And maybe in October, we start to see that shift into crypto where the stock market doesn't do as much. ARGT, yep, it's up. I actually really like this play. I was going to show it real quick, guys. I liked it better when it was lower. But ARGT is kind of easy money. It had really one of its biggest drops over here, down to 27%. But if you look here, 27, 22, 22, 36, and it had an even bigger one back over here in the pandemic. But this gives you like a 1.2 or something, 1.36% return dividend normally, and you just got the full backing of the U.S. government behind Argentina right now, and Scott Bessant saying he was taking care of them too. And I'll just show you that real quick here. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. Trying to see. There's other things in here too. One thing that I wanted to talk about. So the Supreme Court overturned a 90-year precedent expanding presidential power over independent agencies. So let's look at this. The Supreme Court just overturned Humphrey's Executor, 1935, a 90-year-old precedent that protected independent agency leaders from presidential removal without cause. I think this is fascinating. Nobody is talking about it. But if you think about that, could that be applicable to the Fed? It's probably applicable to a lot of other organizations. In fact, this is something that Vivek was talking about, and we're going to talk about that in a second too. But in a 6-3 decision, grants President Trump and future executives sweeping authority to fire heads of agencies like the FTC, NLRB, and the SEC. This was prompted by a series of aggressive firings of Democratic appointees from independent agencies by President Trump shortly after January 2025 inauguration. I actually think he's going to fire. I think he's going to end up firing. Powell. I think he's going to end up firing Powell before maybe by the end of the year. Look at this. They put little shits on these. And then, God. Anyway, but this is great. So this actually helps Trump. Now, I want to go back here. I want to see something. I want to see if I can find this. Nope. That's a different thing. Nope. That's a different thing. There's lots of different things going on. A lot of different things going on. I don't know if I'm going to find what I'm looking for. Let me go back up here. Oh, but yeah, so I think that power, and Vivek had a post, that's what I'm looking for right now. We will dismantle Antifa. I know Stephen Miller will do this. He's a badass. This is crazy. Zoran Mamdani, New York. Look at this. Innocent teen girl shot, man stabbed in separate, simultaneous NYC attacks around the corner from each other at the same time. So a girl was shot and a man was stabbed. Two different things around the same block. How crazy is that? International students are plunging. They're actually, I would argue, they bottomed in July. But this is good. It ties in with the H-1 visa stuff. I think this is what we should be doing. I'm going to skip this. I wanted that Vivek response, but I can't find it. Here's essentially what it is. Vivek said that this is what we needed to do. He said that we needed to follow the path that we've been going down so that we could get to where we could actually drain the swamp. And now we're ready to do that. Yep, starting next week. And by the end of October, I think we'll have an idea of who the next Fed will be. And then again, I think we could start looking towards the termination of that. I think that's what's getting ready to happen. All right, so I will jump into and refresh. You didn't lose me. Try and refresh. Okay. All right. I think it's working. Okay, cool. All right, great. So, highly respected president of Argentina, Javier Milei, has proven to be a truly fantastic and powerful leader of the great people of Argentina, advancing on all levels at record speed. He inherited a total mess with horrible inflation caused by the previous radical left. Much like crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the nation. He always finds a way to throw that in. Yet he has brought stability back to Argentina's economy and lifted it to a new level of prominence and respect. We have a tremendous relationship with Argentina, which has become a strong ally thanks to President Milei. I look forward to continuing working closely with him so that both of our countries can continue on their incredible paths of success. Argentina, Javier Milei is a very good friend, fighter, and winner, and has my complete and total endorsement for re-election as president. He will never let you down. So what he's saying is the United States will help Argentina if you keep Milei, which is a big deal because they've got an election coming up. I actually don't think President Milei is eligible for departure in that election, but he wants to maintain control over the economy. I think he's still got at least another 2.5 years, if I'm correct. Let me know, guys, in chat if I'm wrong. What do I have for GPU? I have an $8,000 MacBook Pro. I don't think it was that. I think it was something else. And I might try and reboot my computer more often. I don't do that, but the memory looked good, which is usually the issue that I would have. Anyway, in here, so this is fascinating. So we've got the U.S., and I don't even know. I might have a post. I don't know if I have that post. There is one in here from Kobayashi letter talking about Argentina too, and about what's happened to it over time. He said in 24 hours, Argentina's stock market collapsed 10%, with the Argentine peso down 99% in 10 years. So he's saying the stock market received really strong downward pressure. And so what happened is we said, hey, don't worry about it. You don't have any problems. And then the stock market just fucking went straight up, right? And we got Treasury Secretary Bessant saying Argentina is a systemically important U.S. ally in Latin America, and the U.S. Treasury stands ready to do what is needed within its mandate to support Argentina. We are not letting them fall. They're going up. I think this is going to be a great investment for the future, and I want to find more investments in Argentina, but for now, I'm doing ARGT. If you guys find any other really good types of funds that we can invest in, let me know. I think ARGT is a steal. I think it's a great roll some money into a next play and maybe have 10% of your portfolio in it type of play, and so that's what I'm shooting towards. I only have maybe like $25,000 to $30,000 worth of this right now, but I do want to grow that number into six figures and higher. And maybe if I get to 10 million, maybe it's $1 million, right? That would be 10% of my portfolio. I think it's a great opportunity. It's got a good dividend. And let's just look at how Argentina has done. You don't find a lot of countries that give you this kind of return, right? So since July of 2022, what is this stock or what has this fund done? 237% returns for a country. That's like the S&P, man. And it hit 313 at one point. So from July of 2022 to a little over 2 years later, you're up 300%. I'll take those kind of returns. CleanSpark? Yeah, let's get to CleanSpark. Let's do that. Let's look at all these tickers, guys. The miners are oh my God, Mara's up almost 8% today. Miners are running first, guys, and I'm here for it. This is great. So we've got Mara up 7.4% right now. We've got Iron up, oh my God, almost 14%. So iron does look like it's running to 80, guys. This is what I was talking about. We're a blow-off top territory. So we're above that next fib now. So now I'd say upside over the short term here is about 68% on iron. That ain't much. Bitfarms is up almost 9% today. What's CleanSpark at? Jesus. Fuck. CleanSpark's at almost 8%. Guys, this is getting fun now. This is getting fun. The miners are ripping. The treasuries are probably just still lagging. Yeah, they are. Treasuries, BMNR down 2% today. SPET down 2%. EC down 0.4. Sequoian's down 1.5. BRRR flat. Let's look here. SWC and UK down 6%, and the United States down 5.6. But again, it was up a decent amount yesterday. It's still not near its lows, and I think it's still finding the bottom. It's not going to go much lower. Solana down 1.8 or 8% for the 2X fund. I still think, would you rotate any CleanSpark to sold? I wouldn't now personally, but I have it in options, so it's a completely different story. Metaplanet down 5.6. So again, I think Metaplanet and the Smarter Web and all these things, they're finding their bottom. I think miners are, with the HPC, are really starting to kick up. Coincilium's down 20, but it also got crushed yesterday. It's finding a bottom too. These are just, the treasuries are sucking right now. They're underperforming. But the miners are doing great, and I'm all for that. I love that. How's other stuff doing, though? Let's see. SoFi, down 0.4%. Palantir, up 0.9%. What's Hood doing? Let's see if I can find Hood here. Or you know what? I guess I could just pull it up over here, too. We got a heat map. We'll look at it. DFDV. I don't know. I don't have that. Do I even have that up? I think I closed some of those windows. I don't know what it's sitting at. I can open them, though. Or no, I do have it. Sorry. Up 6.8%. So Solana, and then UPEXI is flat. But I would rather be in Solt. Solt is going to go up. I actually need to look at that. I should do that. I should see if I can get into there. I'll do it after this, though. I'll do it after this. Let's keep rolling through here and looking at other stuff. So again, the Russell outperforming the S&P and the NASDAQ now. Great. Sodak Zach, hey, thanks, man. You can talk and chat now. Ryox up 35%. I don't know what that is. Is that there's probably a bunch of shit going up. But tell me what it is, if you would, King Size Smiles. Anthony Miners, run up first. Does it mean DAT next, then BTC? I think DAT will go with BTC, but yes, I think that miners are going first because of the HPC play and AI. I think AI is super hot right now. So like I said, I think the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Russell, I think these things can run, and then maybe they start to top out in October, and then we hand the gauntlet over to all the treasury companies and all the crypto and Bitcoin shit. But I think, again, it's because of the HPC play that we're seeing these other miners run, because they know that they can move into it, and people are trying to front run the next announcement of CleanSpark is now an HPC play. That kind of shit, right? SoFi gang checking in. What's up, dude? Not that I know what any of that is. Wink, wink. Subtle hint. All right, yeah. So I think again, Solana probably trying to find a bottom. Could be here, could be a little bit lower. Just be ready for it. Solt though, look at this. I love this, guys. We got this nice base on the 2X fund. I normally don't look at charts like this, but this is the place where you buy. You also get a dividend in this. It's a tiny 1.28%, offsetting just the very most minuscule of ways the theta decay that you get from a drop like this. SMCI is up 1.34%. It looks good. We can pull it up here, and then we'll go to other charts. So I still like SMCI. I own this as an options play. I think it's going up a lot higher. You can see where the bottom very clearly was defined in November of 2024. We're bouncing. We're above all volumes here. We just need to get back above here and settle above the 56 range. Once we do that, once we settle above that 56 range, I think we're up. And really, I guess I've got a couple of fibs running here. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, this line right here. Oh, no, I just marked this. I probably marked this because it was the trough right here. So I was saying, hey, we could run to this zone. It's the trough and before volume picks up again. But I really think that SMCI will get to that trough. It'll get to that 65, 67 range pretty quickly. And what does that look like? Let me just look here. To the trough right at this line, 39%. So that is a 43% upside. And then I think the next target is 116. And I actually think that in the next year and a half, and I've got options going out a long ways, guys, I think we can get into the 300s on this. These are just an installer. It's not as clean of a play as NVIDIA. But the options that I have on these contracts is exponential upside. Ryan said, History Guy Scalps, Iron January calls up 50% from yesterday. Wow. Well, I mean, the stock is up almost 20. It makes sense, especially if you got a shorter term. Congrats, man. RKH 77, what factors would you call for? There's a ton of them. For minor top, it'll be hitting my targets. That's the key one. But again, we have 30 different indicators for Bitcoin. Actually, there's more than that too. And only one of them is triggered so far. Cyber SUV needs to hurry up for us dads. That would be nice. I would buy it. No joke. Ryan Rip, sorry if you guys already talked about this, but are you starting to? No, fuck no. Not even close on CleanSpark. No, man. Let's look at my targets again, guys. I just want to be clear on how targets are set up. So my target for Solana, my actual target is like 650. So I'm telling you that this thing can go up over 200%. What is it from here? 203% from where we're at right now, with an overshoot that could go as high as 400. And then that's a 2x fund. So you can add more to that. So instead of 400, you'd get 800, but it's a 2x fund on the daily, which gives it another multiplying effect if it goes up a lot over a short period of time. So that daily could push you to 500% returns pretty decently on the high end, and close to 300 on the low end. So I think that's a really good return on investment. That's how you look at my targets, but let's look at other targets here. So again, super micro, my target was up here. This is the .618 golden retracement zone. This is the most likely area to stop and then flip the other way. Now, if something becomes more bearish fundamentally, it could stop earlier at the 0.5. If it becomes less bearish and it becomes a really, really bullish narrative, then it could stop higher at the .786. But the majority of the time, you retrace at the .786, both for bounces up in with a fib retracement, and as a top signal in a Fibonacci extension, okay? So let's look over here. So again, my main target we can derive is $61 for ARK. Could it overshoot and go up to here before we start hitting more resistance? Could it go even higher? Yes. All depends on how bullish the sector gets. We're getting close to a breakout, though, and we've got this coinciding stuff that's going to happen in the next month or so. So that's exciting. And then US dollar, we'll skip that. Tesla. Ooh, look at Tesla, guys. Still pushing up against that weekly record close. We're up 2% on the day. It's exciting. Again, my target, though, on Tesla, guys, is 923. So that's my target for a year and a half pretty easily, right? And then right here, ARGT. I don't actually have my target here. I got to put that in. I need to put the fib extension since we found a bottom. Tesla's looking good. Let's just look broadly, though, guys. Look at this. Tesla's looking really good. BABA's looking good. Some of the bigger caps not doing as well, but Tesla doing great. It's nice to have some outperformance in Tesla, isn't it? And then again, Mara. Let's look at targets for Mara. My target for Mara is $43. That is what it is, okay? My target for Iron, we actually surpassed it. Target .618 channel brought us up to here, right? This thing, though, the fundamentals behind it are better. So we hit the next target. Now, could this be the top for it? Maybe, but it could also run to the next target if the fundamentals end up improving. They've already revised higher for their guidance. I think that could be the blow off because, again, they upped their AI guidance just recently in the last couple of days, and that launched us from here all the way up to here, and now we're stopping at this next fib. Maybe there's additional positive news that could send us even higher to the next target. But I think it probably should stop here. I said this the other day, guys. When you get to the 90 zone or anywhere above 88, that's basically the top. And on a weekly time frame, we are at 88, 89. If you look at Bitcoin, that's the time you wanted to sell. I would argue that same thing about Iron. I think people should be moving into other plays. Smaller HPC plays are probably, or ones that are getting ready to convert, probably where the good money's at. But always think about taxes. If you're closing out of this and have to pay taxes, and then you're jumping into something else, and then you don't exit at the right time, your tax bill could be bigger than what you hold. So be smart. Like, I'm trading this stuff in IRAs. I don't have to worry about that shit. Okay? Where's CleanSpark in here? Did I miss it? Oh, it was over here. Okay. So yeah, CleanSpark, 2.99%. We closed the gap already that we had yesterday, and now we're starting to go up. I love this. My target for this is quite a bit higher. It's up 130, 40%. And I think I can get 10x the underlying if it does that. If it gets up to 35 in a short order, I can still do well in a lot of my positions. And I could walk away with millions and still be in a profit from what I put into my CleanSpark options. And then move that stuff to other things. We're waiting for Iron to announce their next big deal. If that fundamental thing happens, guys, I just want to say this. Macro hits hardest, okay? If the Fed is raising rates at the most aggressive rate in history, you're fucked in most of your investments, unless you're short, right? You're fucked. There could be some winners, but you're fucked. But then it goes to the fundamentals of the investments that you're in. It's what is Bitcoin doing? It's what is Tesla doing? You have to be good in that, right? And then next is the financials. Are the financials good? So you need a lot of things to line up. The technicals are the last piece of the puzzle. All I'm doing here is showing you targets. It could be way different depending upon what the fundamentals were. Did they announce a huge new partnership deal that doubles their revenue again? Obviously, that's going to raise the target. You look at your next Fibonacci extension. Okay? Are you still heavily invested into BMNR? It's still the fastest horses for the next 2 months? Yes, it is. And I don't know if I have this in my slides. I think I do. Let me go back here real quick out of ARGT and then over to I think it's Ethereum, but maybe I have it in Bitcoin. Maybe I have it in Bitcoin. Let me go over here. So BMNR is actually right underneath. So a couple things I wanted to speak to. Bitcoin, epoch candles. I don't think, look at this growth, this first cycle. Look at this growth the next cycle, 5,100%. Next cycle, 1,200%. Next cycle, 658. I don't believe that we've exponentially dropped to 72. That doesn't make any sense. We should at least be in the hundreds because you get diminishing impact in the drop each cycle. This is just too much of a drop for the high. So we're going higher from here. I have no question about that. Also, here are the top 5 most liquid crypto treasury names for today. Well, you know what you don't see on here? You don't see any of the Bitcoin treasuries outside of MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy is still winning hands down. So you can see why they're facing pain, right? But BMNR is the second highest by far. SBET's third. What is SBET? 265 million. Bitmine is 2.31 billion, right behind MicroStrategy. Bitmine matters. Bitmine lives matter. And if I'm just jumping over here, let's see if we have support. So we did drop underneath the peak volume. That sucks. So could this go down here to 51? Yes, it could. Tom Lee is still a madman. He's only got like 2% of a little over 2% of the supply of Ethereum, and he wants a bunch more. So we could see continued price pressure here, but I do believe he understands technicals pretty well. He's kind of brilliant in regard to that. So I do think that if we got downside pressure, it will probably stop when it hits here. I think it stops when it hits here, and we'll see if I'm wrong. But my guess is we get just a little more downside pressure, and then we're done, and then we start going up again, and we start to break out, and we get up here into the 80 range, and then next into the 107. So maybe just a little more pain, but I wouldn't focus on it. I would be ready for the bounce. I would focus on the bounce. Sodak says X and YouTube finance community is incredible. I agree. You can find so much out from people with different views. Sodak also said crossed 1 million in assets this last week at 23 years old. Damn, bro. Zach, we got to hang out, dude. You got to teach me your ways. Hoping to hit that 1 million NW mark before turning 35. So what are you at right now? Crossed 1 million in assets this last week. Oh, I see. 1 million net worth. Okay. So your net worth isn't there yet, but you do have 1 million in assets. I got it. It's just not, you're figuring out your minus your liabilities. I got you. Yeah, dude, honestly, we're heading towards an exponential age. I think there's no better time in history for you to make a shit ton of money, bro. And I'm here to help in whatever way I can. Toby Wan said Roth Capital Partners raised IREN target to 82 yesterday. Miners are re-rating for HPC. Okay, that's great. I might have missed that. That's great. So again, you're going to have people that'll chase. It'll send things higher. That number, though, that price target, that 82, that's not just a guesstimate, right? Let's look at that. What did I tell you we could get up to over here? It's like right around 80. So they're a little too high in my opinion. And maybe if I draw this out specifically to the very tippity top and bottom of all of this, and I do my Fibonacci extension over, maybe it gets me to 82. But essentially their number is right at the next fib level. So they're saying they think we can still launch higher. Would you please check Riot? I can look at it. I think all the miners are doing really good, guys. I mean, this is great. Let me just check real quickly again. I want to see what some of these others are doing. So Mara retraced a little bit, 3.25. Again, they don't have as much as the APC look. CleanSpark did too, 2.44. And what did IREN do? Did it retrace too? Yeah, it's only 7.52. It was up to like 13. So they're coming back a little bit, but I think the general direction is up. Let's look at Riot. If you guys have other tickers too, throw them out. If you have new things you want to look at, throw it out too. We're going to start doing more of that in the days ahead. I might be doing this 3 days a week, but I might do longer sessions so that we can talk about where things are headed. So Riot's still doing really good. Did Riot have some interesting news, guys? Can you tell me if there's new news? So it did break out, and I'm actually just going to move some things up here. I'm going to put it up to here. I'm going to put it up to here. So again, the fib levels are holding true for this. Top or bottom, top, bottom, right? This is going back to 2020, the bottom of the last cycle. It's the same setup. And so what I'm telling you is I think that max this thing can get up here to like 71 for Riot. And I don't know if that's going to happen. It's got to be a really positive narrative for that to happen. It might undershoot that. But what is that? That's a 282% increase from where we're at. I probably actually need to move stuff over because I haven't looked at this chart in so long. This is not my favorite play. So I'll move it over to like the end of November, December. But yeah, 282% increase is not a bad number. And let's just see what the next one is here. Or it could stop here. It's currently sitting at a $7 billion valuation. I don't know. I think it probably stops in between these numbers is my guess. Maybe in the 55 range, just because of its size is still pretty large. I think Mara is smaller than Riot right now. Is that true? Let me just look here real quick. IREN is 12.4 billion. That's crazy. Mara is 6.77. Yeah, so technically smaller than Riot. That's wild. Are you still adding Palantir? Slowly, super slowly. I think I have like 6,000 or 7,000 in Palantir. It's too small to register, but yes, I'm still adding. I would like to look at ticker DOW for Dow Chemicals. Okay. If you guys have anything else to throw it out there. I didn't see anything else. I'm keeping an eye on Micron. Ooh, I want to look at that one first. Is that MU? Is that MU? I think so. So let's look here. So Micron is actually, I mean, there's been eyes on Micron already, yo. Like a lot. Let's look at this from the bottom over here. Oh, and I need to redraw this actually. This is not well done. This needs to get fixed. So, okay. So we're just fucking to the moon. This thing has went up 173%. So the next move, guys, and I don't know enough about Micron, but I assume the entire semiconductor sector is getting ready to explode. And so again, take it for what it's worth. I don't know what Micron's part in that is. Nomad, thank you for becoming a member. You can talk in chat. 178%. That's what we've done, but I think we can make another move. I mean, the next fib, guys, let's just move this to here. If there's a good narrative for this thing to go higher, it's another 47%. Again, not what crypto can do, but interesting. Can you take a look at TTD? Yes, but I was going to do Dow Chemical, I think somebody asked about, and I don't know enough about. I do want to see with Micron. Give me a second. I like to look at the financials, guys. This is where I feel really at home. When I'm looking at the financials and I'm getting some history behind the company, I get excited, right? So let's look at estimates here. I want to see where we're headed. This looks like strong revenue growth. If their guidance is being met, this is interesting. They only have a forward PE of 12. That seems crazy fucking low to me. That seems crazy low. So I could definitely see, I might have to think about the way that I draw my Fibonacci extension to account for that. They've got positive net incomes. Their revenue growth and estimates look good. They've really been doing good since 2023. Their debt load doesn't look unsustainable. They're diluting shareholders. Their expense base could be better, but I like that their SG&A, basically all the administrative and all the general bullshit that they have to do is staying the same. That's this blue, but it's research and development where they're spending more money because you got to. I mean, this is memory. You got to stay like at the top of cutting edge, right? There's some good charts in here too. This is nice, but I do like this actually. I like this chart. I actually think this is interesting. Let's look at Dow Chemical, and I want to look at Dow Chemical over here. Iron's back over 12. Good. So we're probably seeing a bounce. Yeah, Bitfarms is up 4.5 again now, so we are seeing some stuff. Let's look at Dow Chemicals here. Dow Chemicals, woof. Look at that revenue going negative, cash flow going negative, debt's going up. They're doing some buyback, but fuck, negative growth sucks. Barely any growth in the future. I don't see why I should be interested in this. You got to let me know. I don't see why I should be interested. TTD, was that another one? Was that the other one you guys want to look at? Yeah, it is. Okay. So I'll look at this first. So revenue growing, looks solid. Net income is up. Free cash flow looks like it's waning recently. Like it looks like there's a trend lower in 2024 to 2025. Operating expenses have went up. R&D, wow, everything is though. Like their G&A and their S&M, all this stuff is going up. Normally don't love to see that. I like to see it scale well where they're going to be profitable. It's only barely double digit revenues, 11%. Forward PE is 53. That is high. I actually like Micron as a better play personally, and I don't know a lot about the company, but just from the financial aspect, the financials look better for Micron. This isn't really good growth. And again, what's killing me here, if I'm looking at it right. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the last one. That was the last one, Dow Chemical. So this one does have revenue growth, but it's just not that high. It's 11%. The PE is high. It is positive cash flow and net income, which I like. I don't like the operating expenses. They're not scaling the way I'd like. I'd like the money to go into R&D. I don't want it to be overhead for an administrative. And this is just kind of steady growth. It's not spectacular. So from that aspect, I don't even want to look at the chart when it's got a forward PE in the 50s. Is that clear? Hopefully that's a good answer. And let's look at Iron. I haven't looked at Iron's financials recently or their forward estimates. I want to see if that's updated in here because I want to see how HPC is playing. I'll try and look at more too here, guys. I'm getting a bunch now. It looks like you guys are throwing out. How many total tickets are you generally in at one time? Or tickers are you in at one time? Is there a guideline? I'd keep it under a dozen, dude. Honestly, the less is more. If you have a couple of really good plays with high confidence levels, I like that better. It's when you start to reach the end of your confidence on those levels. Like let's say that all of a sudden I'm making a shit ton of money and I'm at 10 to 12 million in November. Let's just say that, right? Let's say I've hit 10 to 12 million. I've hit my target and I'm rich as fuck. And I already don't know what to do with all my money, right? Like I already don't know what to do with all my money. I remodeled my front porch. Could have bought a house, but I'm just not going to do it in this environment. I can wait. I'll do way better this next year. But if I go from negative 46,000 and a low of 164 in 2020 to $12 million, I'm going to be a really happy dude. But you know what I'll have done? I'll have expired my really high confidence bets. Maybe not Tesla. If Tesla hasn't really launched fully, and I just think Tesla forward looking is going to do really well, then I'm going to keep money in that. Obviously, maybe I got 3 or 4 million in that out of 10 to 12, right? And then there's going to be other plays that I'm interested in, but I'll splatter my money out into other things because I won't be as interested in Bitcoin and crypto at the time. I'll have thought that topped. I'll have a little bit of hedge. I'll have some cash. Maybe some other investments that I smather into that are lower, that aren't as high of confidence as, like, let's say Bitcoin and Tesla now. So I'll throw out into these other things, and then I'll increase my confidence as I own them and figure out what I really want to focus my energy on, and then look to go over in the next higher leg. So hopefully that gives you like an idea of how I think. So I'll probably broaden out into more tickers is what I'm trying to say. And then I'll consolidate down into my higher confidence, and then what I'm forward looking into, and eventually I'll probably be really bullish. Like maybe Tesla had a pullback that was really strong at some point. I'll really leverage my way into that, or maybe Palantir has a huge rout, and the fundamentals and financials are still good. I'll leverage my way into that, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So sometimes I increase my ticker size and then I reduce it, but I try not to get it over like, once you get above like 15 or something or 12, it's probably too much. RS, AI infra was the play. Crazy moves. Yeah, it totally was. Looking back, hindsight 2020. Nomad 10Z, could you have a look at Hastif? Hamas, thank you, sir. I don't know what those are. It sounds like Hamas, but I'm going to look it up for you. But I'm not a fan of Hamas. But let's see. Not that it's really that. What is Hastif? Is this just a ticker? Is it small? What is Hamas? These are all inactive boards. What is it? Can you tell me what it is first off? Tell me what it is, and then like anything I need to know about it, Nomad. Bitfarms chart, yeah, we can pull it up. I should do this anyway. Not that Tony ever looks at my shit. My Korean brother from another mother, Tony, is in this one. It did retrace, and I think it retraced with good reason. A little bit early actually. So if you go down and draw down from the bear market in 2020 where this was at, all the way up to the peak that it had in 2021, and then you draw it back down to the bottom over here again in 2022 at the end of the last bear market, what I consider an actual bear market, the end of 2022 for tech, everything, and crypto, and SPACs, and memes, and everything else. You can tell that we actually did already hit right here, this one, that fib level from that cycle, bottom, top, bottom. But I drew another one over here from our more recent bottom in December of 2022, all the way up here to the recent top at the end of this last year, and then over here to the bottom. You see the W bottom that formed. You see that it rocketed up, got up to here, just kept going. But you could see here it's stalling out on the .618. So in both occurrences, this other one was a little bit before it on the broader time scale. And then now a little bit, again, this one overshot a little bit on this other one. So it was premature here, but in this case, it blew past it. And now it's starting to stop right there. So Bitfarms, it's having some resistance here. But again, I think the fundamentals are going to outweigh that. I think we're probably going to head higher and try and tackle this $4 range again. And then I would be surprised unless they just suck fundamentally and that doesn't get better. And this was just pure hype. They have a tiny cap. They're only 1.5 billion. So if the narrative gets really strong for HPC and for what they're doing, you could, again, get up here to this next level around the high 6s to 7 range. And then the next target would be up here in the $15 range. That could happen. This is such a small cap. It could happen. Dr. Art Laffeter on board, Qatari Fund, Bitcoin and Gold Treasury, other interesting board members, Brittany Kaiser. Who is that with? Oh, Hamak Gold. I love Art Laffer. Is it Laffeter or which one? Dr. Art Laffer, Qatari Funding, Bitcoin, Gold Treasury. I think gold is just super played out. I can pull up the ticker though. Actually, I'll probably just pull up gold because I'm going to stick with the underlying in this one. I don't know how over or undervalued that is. I could look at it. But gold is fucking done. It's in its parabolic move, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you look over here in the 2019 to 20 range, let's just go back further. So these things change over time, but you can see the parabola that was the explosion of people buying way too much in commodities that happened in the 70s. You can see over here where we had just a big move up to the great financial crisis. Then that brought it down. But really a parabolic move that brought us all the way into 2011. And then it stopped because people were still worried about the stock market. Even all the way up to 2011, they were still worried. And then finally, the sickness broke and the sweating happened. They were feeling better. They were over it. And then gold came down and the stock market continued to soar. But we consolidated forever, right? But I would argue that since really like 2018, we've had kind of a parabola, a multi-layered move. But this is the parabola. This is it. This is the blow off top. Can it go higher from here? It totally can. But let's just do the fibs on this one real quick. So pay attention to the underlying. I wouldn't focus on the other things right now because you need to know when this top is in, right? This is what fucking matters. So let's look at gold. I haven't done this in ages. Let's just do it in real time. So we'll call the bottom over here, the top right here. This is on the Fibonacci extension. And then we'll draw this thing down to here. We are in a parabola. We are not making it past 4,300, I don't think. But this is a huge measured move in the supply of this investment. I don't know what the market cap is. Can anybody get a grok on the market cap of gold? It is so fucking high right now. It is up 133% from where it was in October of 2022. For gold, that's like a parabola. It's a parabolic move. And could it go higher? Could it go even higher? Could it get all the way up here to the 4,300s? Could it even go above that for a minute? Maybe, but this just doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. And let's look at this chart here on the monthly time frame and see how overbought it is. It is the most overbought it has been since the fucking 70s. That's your chart. That's it. One sec. I got to make this post. So just think about what we were saying. Think about what James was saying, guys. What did James from Invest Answers say? And if you guys want to reference me on his show and talk about this, you should. I'd love to get his input and maybe even just hang out with him for a little bit. But we're literally saying right now, James was saying that he thought Tesla could outperform Bitcoin in the years ahead. And I agree with that, especially over the next two. Because if you look here, we are at the highest level on the RSI for gold going back to the fucking 70s. I just want to point out how crazy that is. So I would not be looking to add to any fucking positions for gold right now. I would be exiting them and getting into Bitcoin, not financial advice. But that is the post I'm getting ready to put out here because this is insane. Let me do this. What is this? This is what ticker is this? Let me go in here. This is it's the gold. It's gold. It's actually gold because it's the ounces. It's not the GLD fund. All right, that's the headline for today, guys. That's the chart. That's the chart right there. That's a fucking crazy chart. That is it. And just a reminder, guys, you can look at history in 2017 and you can see this exact same consolidation. Look at this over here. Over here. I would actually argue that he's wrong in this time frame because he did June to July. He's trying to keep it like in the same amount of months, but the pattern really goes to here. I think it goes to here, right? This pattern is very similar to this one. And then again, this pattern over here is very similar to what happened over here. It petered out over here. It dropped down. Then we had a big launch higher. Then it got stuck. Then it went lower and it overshot right away. It didn't do that pussy head and shoulders stuff where it thinks about it for a minute. It just overshot and gave us a clear bottom. That is also what I said was going to happen with Bitcoin. Just like it did over here, it rhymed again, right? It's not a perfect representation, but it was an overshoot immediately. It found support, and now is when we go higher. I agree with this. And the targets to me are anywhere between 148, maybe 200. My max target, guys, is 280 to 330 or something like that, 320. But I don't think it's going to get that high because I don't think the world's falling apart, not for America at least. So I would be more cautious and stick with the 150 to 180s personally. That's what I'm thinking. I said October will be a great month for the market to give back to crypto. I'm standing by that. We've got Tether raising $20 billion at a $500 billion valuation. This is the wealthiest, most powerful private company on the fucking planet. And they're tied with the US dollar, stable coins, and Bitcoin and Ethereum for all those reasons. Jesse needs to get on Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan. Jesse and Joe show. That would be amazing. That's a dream, right? Payments giant Visa and Stripe just partnered with Fold to launch Bitcoin credit card. Again, just all this stuff. You got the Gemini card. You got all these things happening. I did say that this could happen, that we could be in a megaphone pattern. It depends on what time frame you're looking at. But where we could go up to like maybe the 128, 130 range, reject temporarily, find this previous support zone that goes over the 5-year trend, and then go higher. Micron falls on Q4 results. Ooh, this is interesting, actually, just based on timing. I'll probably watch this, guys. And then if there's some other tickers we want to hit, I might hit them. Otherwise, I might be done. I do want to hear this, though, since we were just talking about Micron and I liked what their financials look like. I'm very interested. I'm interested to see what they say about this. The chip sector is really important for us to know. Let's listen.
Supply going into 2026. Take a listen.
Supply jam is tight, and in calendar year 26, we see supply getting tighter. And our product position is good. We will, of course, continue to optimize our sales focused on return on our investments and disciplined investing in growing our supply as well.
Manny. Jeez,
Susquehanna Senior Equity Research Analyst Manny Ascenti joining us this morning with the buy rating.
Manny just gifted 50 memberships. You rock. Wow, you guys have been very generous today. I appreciate all the kindness, guys.
On the stock price target at 200. Mehdi, it's good to have you back. We put a lot of weight into what Sanjay tells us about the cycle because he tends to be a pretty straight shooter when it comes to sort of qualitative comments.
So let's listen to what he has to say here. And they said Micron was down on earnings or something, so I'm interested.
About where we are. What was your reaction, especially coming off of the call?
I think the reaction is pretty much in line with expectation. We have been writing about the better pricing environment due to a richer mix of high value added product as well as a very disciplined spending environment. But I think the most important takeaway here, which I don't think Sanjay is going to elaborate on a live interview, is who is actually doing a lot of buying. Unlike prior cycles, actually prior cycles were driven by distributors and the OEMs and ODMs buying. Unlike those cycles, it is NVIDIA, it is AMD, it is Broadcom, Avago that are actually doing the buying. And when you look at the AI, what NVIDIA charges, which is about 80% of the AI server, majority of that is going towards memory. So it is NVIDIA that has to buy from Micron. And this is what gives Sanjay pricing power. The future of AI compute requires advanced memory, and that's where the premium comes in. And this is why this cycle is sustainable throughout 26 and it may even sustain into 2027.
Whoa. Okay, so this is great. So I'll listen to more of this later, guys. I'm probably going to head out now, though, but I'll tell you if there's anything else interesting about what he has to say, but that's fucking awesome. Here's my message for you today, though, about gold, guys. It is get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of gold. Most of the returns have been made. You should be in other things. You should be getting into Bitcoin right now. You should be focused on Tesla. You should be focused on Argentina and a bunch of other stuff. Gold is played out. Get the fuck out of it. And you guys have a great day, and I'll see you on Friday, okay? And online on X. Peace out, guys.
Yeah.
So why gold? Why not Bitcoin?
Because I like to touch what's real. Gold's been money for 5,000 years, not just numbers on a screen.
Someone's trying to take my gold. They're after my gold! I gotta leave the country!
Damn it, they got me. They took it all. The bars, the coins, even my damn ring. I got out. First thing I did, I ran. Now I'm in El Salvador, and I'm starving. At least I still have one coin.
No, senor. Only dollar or Bitcoin.
I shouldn't have listened to Peter Schiff. I should have just bought Bitcoin.